The morning began with a soft chill floating through the air, the kind that hinted autumn was waking up early. Maple Ridge, New Jersey, always carried a peaceful charm at this hour. The sun rose slowly above the rows of well-kept homes and the tall maple trees that shaded the sidewalks. Joggers passed with earbuds tucked in, cars hummed quietly toward workplaces, and the scent of pastries drifted out of the corner bakery on Broad Street. Children hurried toward school buses while neighbors nodded politely at each other. Everything looked ordinary. Everything sounded calm. Except for the small figure sitting alone on the curb at the entrance of Willow Creek Park. His name was Jaden Whitlock, 10 years old. Thin, quiet, and wrapped in a black hoodie that looked worn at the elbows. He sat hunched over, his head tucked down toward his knees, gripping the frayed straps of his backpack so tightly his knuckles were pale. His sneakers tapped nervously on the pavement, an anxious rhythm that didn't fit the peaceful neighborhood around him. A few early walkers noticed him but kept their distance. They glanced, hesitated for a moment, then continued on as if someone else would take responsibility. Others didn't look long enough to realize something was wrong. It wasn't unusual here, people meant well but often stayed in their own lane. If a kid looked sad, they assumed a parent was nearby or a friend would show up soon. That silent belief made it easy for most people to walk by without stopping. But the truth was simple. Jaden was alone. Deeply, painfully alone. He lifted his head for a brief moment, revealing tear-streaked cheeks and reddened eyes. He wiped them quickly with the back of his sleeve as if embarrassed. His chest rose and fell in fast, uneven breaths. Anyone watching him closely would see fear stitched into his expression. Fear far too heavy for someone his age to carry. He pulled his backpack closer, almost hugging it like it was the only safe thing he owned. Cars passed behind him. A school bus rolled by. A dog barked in the distance. Still he didn't move. He didn't stand. He didn't call for help. Instead, he kept glancing at the sidewalk leading away from the park. His gaze flicked up every 30 seconds, hopeful, terrified, and disappointed all at once. It was clear he was waiting for someone, hoping someone familiar would appear. But each time he looked up and saw no one coming, his shoulders sank a little lower. He whispered something under his breath. A name. A plea. A question. The words were too soft for anyone else to hear. Minutes dragged by. A group of middle schoolers walked past him, chatting loudly about a soccer game. None of them paid attention. A woman jogging with her dog gave him a sympathetic look but continued running. Jaden kept shrinking into the hoodie, wishing he could disappear completely. The breeze picked up, rustling the leaves above him. A few early maple leaves, bright red and orange, fluttered to the ground around his sneakers. The park behind him, usually filled with laughter and noise, stood almost empty at this hour. A single swing creaked in the distance, moving slowly on its own. The sound made the moment feel even lonelier. Jaden pressed a hand to his forehead, squeezing his eyes shut as if trying to block out everything around him. He breathed slowly, then quickly, then slowly again. It was clear he was fighting back another round of tears, trying hard but losing the battle. He opened his backpack, dug around, and pulled out a small silver necklace. A tiny charm dangled from the chain, shaped like a crescent moon. He held it tightly in his palm, rubbing his thumb across the surface again and again, almost like the necklace was the only thing keeping him grounded. It looked important to him, something given by someone he cared for deeply. The wind blew a little harder. A car door slammed somewhere down the street. A crow called out from a lamppost. Everything around him felt disconnected from his world of panic and heartbreak. He whispered again, cradling the necklace in both hands. This time the pain in his voice cracked through the air, even though he wasn't speaking loudly. And still no one stopped. Just then, the low rumble of bicycle tires rolled along the pavement. A splash of bright turquoise paint flashed across the scene. The bike slowed down. It didn't pass the park, didn't continue toward the next block. Instead, its rider pressed the brakes gently, gliding to a stop a few feet away from Jaden. 12-year-old Trinity Harris stepped off the bike. She was easy to notice. She carried a sense of brightness everywhere she went, like someone who saw the things others missed. She wore a yellow hoodie, jeans with tiny paint splatters, and a calm, curious expression. Her curly hair was tied in a ponytail, bouncing slightly as she moved. She didn't walk past him. She didn't pretend he wasn't there. She didn't assume someone else would handle it. Instead, she parked her bike against the lamppost, slipped off her backpack and walked toward him slowly, carefully, as if approaching someone who might run if startled. Something inside her, instinct, empathy, or maybe both, pulled her toward him. Trinity crouched down, close enough for him to hear her but far enough not to frighten him. She tilted her head slightly, studying his trembling hands and puffy eyes. She watched him cling to the necklace like it was a lifeline. For a moment she didn't speak. She just stayed there with him, letting him feel her presence. It took less than 5 seconds for her to realize this wasn't a kid who scraped his knee. This wasn't a kid who lost a toy. This was something deeper. Something serious. Finally, in a soft, steady voice, Trinity said, "Hey, are you okay?" Jaden didn't answer. He didn't even look up. Trinity shifted sideways, trying to meet his eyes gently. "You look scared. Did something happen?" Still nothing. She noticed his breathing growing uneven again. His fingers dug into the necklace harder. Tears welled at the corners of his eyes. Trinity moved closer but stayed respectful of his space. "It's all right," she murmured. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to, but you look like you need somebody." The words hung in the air. The breeze quieted as if even the wind paused to listen. Trinity waited patiently. She didn't rush him. She didn't push him. She just sat beside him on the curb, her presence warm and steady, like a soft light in the middle of a storm. Then, for the first time since dawn, Jaden lifted his gaze. His voice trembled. His lower lip shook. He whispered 3 words that would change everything. "My mom's gone." Trinity's eyes widened. Before she could speak, a dark SUV rolled slowly past the park, its windows tinted, its presence heavy. Trinity glanced at it briefly, unaware of how important that detail would become later. But she felt something shift in the air. Something rising. Something dangerous. A story that had only just begun. Trinity stayed kneeling beside the boy, her hands resting lightly on her knees as she tried to understand the weight behind his whisper. His voice had cracked in a way she wasn't used to hearing from kids their age. Most 10-year-olds cried over scraped elbows, broken toys, or losing a game. But this felt different. Deeper. Heavy in a way that made the air around them tense. Jaden didn't look at her again. After whispering that his mother was gone, he pulled the hood back over his head like a shield and hugged his backpack tighter against his chest. The necklace trembled in his hands. Trinity exhaled slowly, trying to keep her own nerves steady. Her mind scrambled for what to do next. She wasn't a grown-up. She wasn't trained for emergencies. But she knew one thing: she couldn't just leave him sitting here alone. She shifted slightly closer, setting her backpack beside her on the curb. "What do you mean she's gone?" Trinity asked gently. Is she lost?" Jaden didn't answer, but his chin quivered. She pressed her lips together. "Did she leave last night? This morning? Did something happen at home?" Still nothing. The silence was becoming its own language, one filled with fear, confusion, and secrets he didn't know how to explain. Trinity studied him quietly. His clothes looked slightly wrinkled. His hoodie sleeves had small threads coming loose. His backpack looked older than he was. He smelled faintly like the inside of a bus station, like he had walked far or waited somewhere too long. "How long have you been sitting here?" Trinity asked softly. He shrugged without lifting his head. He seemed terrified of saying the wrong thing, as if someone might punish him for it. Trinity had always been the kind of kid who noticed the things others didn't. She noticed when kids sat alone at lunch, when someone pulled away in gym class, when teachers said, "I'm fine," but looked exhausted. Her grandmother liked to say Trinity had a heart with sharper eyes than most grown-ups. Looking at Jaden now, she saw something more than sadness. She saw exhaustion. She saw fear threaded into every breath. She saw the kind of tremble that didn't come from cold air, but from stress that built up over time. She placed her hands gently on the curb beside her. "I'm Trinity," she said. "You don't have to tell me everything. You don't even have to tell me anything if you're scared. But you're not invisible to me." He blinked once, slowly. "I saw you," she added. I stopped because you looked like you needed someone. That's all. Another long moment passed. Finally, in a voice soft as scratching paper, Jaden whispered, "My mom didn't come home last night." The words came out shaky, like each one held a piece of a nightmare he didn't understand. Trinity nodded, letting him take his time. Okay, did she say where she was going? No. Has she ever stayed out all night before? He hesitated, then shook his head. So this is the first time? Another nod. Trinity drew a small circle on the pavement with her shoe, thinking. Something about the way he answered felt controlled, like he was holding back details, or like someone taught him to keep his words quiet and small. She leaned in a little. Did something happen before she left? An argument? A phone call? Jaden's breathing hitched. She was scared. Trinity's eyebrows lifted. Scared of what? He closed his eyes. Everything. The way he said it made a chill crawl up Trinity's spine. She tried to soften her tone. Did she ask you to wait for her somewhere? Or did you wake up and she wasn't there? I woke up, he whispered. She was gone. I waited. But she didn't come back. Trinity's stomach twisted. She imagined waking up and not seeing her mother or grandmother at home. The thought alone made her chest tighten. For a child actually living that moment, the fear must have been unbearable. So you came here? Trinity asked. He nodded again. I thought she might look for me. A breeze rustled the leaves beside them. The park felt bigger now, emptier, like it was keeping secrets of its own. Trinity looked down the street, noticing again how that dark SUV earlier slowed down before disappearing. A strange nervous feeling crept into her mind. She didn't understand why, but something about this situation felt wrong on many levels. She placed her hands over her thighs and took a slow breath. Jaden, have you told anyone else? A neighbor? A friend? Anyone? No. Why not? He squeezed the necklace so tightly it pressed into his skin. Mom said, don't talk to anyone. Don't trust anyone. Trinity felt her pulse jump. Why would she say that? He swallowed hard. Because of my dad. She froze. Something in his expression shifted, like he had revealed more than he intended. He pulled his hood down lower, almost hiding his entire face. Trinity realized she needed to be careful. Whatever frightened this kid had roots deeper than a missing parent. She tried a different angle. Is your dad at home? Can we call him? No. The word was sharp, immediate. She said he's dangerous. Dangerous. The word echoed in her mind like a warning bell. Does he hurt people? Trinity asked cautiously. Jaden shook his head slowly. Not like that. Then what did your mom mean? She said he's powerful. Too powerful. And if he finds us, everything ends. Trinity's eyes widened. This wasn't a normal missing parent situation. This wasn't a simple family problem. This sounded like the beginning of something much bigger, something that made her heart thud harder inside her chest. But she didn't want to scare him. So she kept her voice low and gentle. Jaden, what's your dad's name? He didn't answer right away. His fingers trembled around the necklace. His breaths came quicker, more uneven. It looked like even saying the name might bring danger closer. Trinity reached out slowly and placed her hand on the ground near his, offering comfort without touching him. You can trust me, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Jaden lifted his head slightly. His eyes glistened. He hesitated. Then, almost too quietly to hear, he murmured, His name is Christopher Hale. The world around them seemed to pause. Trinity's heart dropped straight to her stomach. She recognized the name instantly. Anyone who watched the news or lived near New York did. Christopher Hale wasn't just powerful. He was one of the most influential and wealthy businessmen in the country. Someone whose face appeared in magazines, finance channels, major interviews, and digital billboards. A billionaire. A figure surrounded by bodyguards and controversy. A man people whispered about when they thought no one else was listening. And this scared, trembling boy sitting beside her was claiming that man was his father. For a moment, Trinity couldn't speak. She felt a cold ripple of shock roll down her spine. The puzzle pieces began snapping together in ways she didn't like. A missing mother. A terrified child. warnings to stay hidden. A dangerous father. A wealthy figure with enemies. Before she could process what this meant, a sudden blast of wind pushed through the park, scattering leaves across their shoes. A shadow fell across the sidewalk. Someone, or something, was approaching from behind them. Trinity felt the hair on her arms rise. She slowly turned her head. The shadow on the sidewalk was nothing more than a passing cyclist, but in that moment Trinity's heart pounded like a drum. She instinctively moved a little closer to Jaden, who hugged his backpack tighter, his small body shaking as if the world itself was unstable beneath his feet. She could feel the raw tension radiating off him, a tension she hadn't encountered in any child before. Something about his fear didn't just come from being alone, it came from experience. From knowing danger lurked in ways most children couldn't even imagine. Trinity looked down at him, searching for a way to ease the panic in his chest. She had always believed that simple questions, spoken with kindness, could open a door for someone who was hurting. It was why she noticed kids who others ignored. And now she hoped that door wasn't too heavy for him to open. "Jaden," she said softly, her voice barely louder than the breeze rustling through the maple leaves above them. "I'm not going anywhere. You can tell me anything. Okay." He swallowed hard, his eyes fixed on a crack in the pavement. He was so small, so fragile, that Trinity felt an almost physical pull in her chest, like someone had carved a hollow space just for worry inside her. "My mom, she didn't come home last night," he whispered, his voice quivering. Trinity nodded slowly, letting the words settle in the quiet morning. She didn't interrupt, didn't rush him. Silence, sometimes, was its own kind of comfort. She could feel the weight of the fear surrounding him, the invisible chains of anxiety holding him in place. "Did she say where she was going?" Trinity asked gently after a moment. Jaden shook his head. "No," his hands clenched the necklace again, his fingers pale against the silver crescent moon. Trinity realized how meaningful that small charm must be to him. A tangible anchor in a life that felt unpredictable and frightening. "Has she ever stayed out like this before?" Trinity pressed, keeping her tone calm. He shook his head again. "Never." Trinity's chest tightened. The thought of a child waking up and finding his mother gone was already terrifying, but now, paired with the fear that clung to him like a shadow, it became almost unbearable to imagine. "So, this is the first time something like this happened?" Trinity asked softly. Another nod. "Did she leave suddenly? Was there an argument? Or maybe someone called?" Jaden's lip trembled. She was scared. Trinity's heart jumped. Scared of what? He hesitated. His small hands tightened over the necklace. "Everything." "Everything?" Trinity repeated carefully, not wanting to startle him. He nodded slowly, a quivering motion that spoke louder than words ever could. The necklace swayed slightly as he pulled it closer to his chest. She said, "Don't trust anyone. Just stay hidden." She said, "If someone finds us, everything could end." Trinity felt a chill crawl down her spine. The words didn't fit with the peaceful suburban morning around them. This wasn't about being lost or forgotten. This was bigger. Something dangerous. Something that could change the course of their lives in ways she couldn't yet imagine. "Stay hidden from who?" Trinity asked, keeping her voice low. "Your parents." Jaden's eyes flickered upward for the briefest second. "My dad." Trinity froze. "My dad?" she whispered, unsure if she should have said anything aloud. "Why, is he?" "Don't call him that." Jaden's voice cracked as he buried his face back in his hoodie. "He's dangerous." Trinity's mind spun. She knew she needed to stay calm. Kids like Jaden could pick up on panic like radar. She took a slow breath and tried to sound steady. Okay, she said softly. "I won't say anything you don't want me to. Can you tell me why he's dangerous?" Jaden shook his head, but a single tear escaped down his cheek. He's powerful. Too powerful. And if he finds us, they'll hurt us." The word powerful echoed in Trinity's mind. He didn't mean influence at school or popularity among kids. He meant real, frightening power, the kind that could make adults freeze in their tracks. Trinity swallowed hard. The pieces of the puzzle were forming in her mind. Something about this child's fear didn't match any ordinary missing parent situation. Something about his father had left scars too deep for Jaden to speak fully yet. She gently shifted a little closer, keeping her hands visible and calm. "Jaden, do you know his name?" For a moment he didn't answer. His hands shook around the necklace. His eyes darted toward the park entrance like he expected someone, or something, to appear at any moment. Finally he whispered, "Christopher Hale?" Trinity's heart dropped straight to her stomach. The name was familiar. Too familiar. Anyone who paid attention to the news in New York or New Jersey, or even the neighboring states, would recognize it immediately. Christopher Hale. Billionaire. Business mogul. A man whose influence stretched far beyond his company. A man people admired, envied, and feared. And now Trinity realized this terrified, tear-streaked boy was claiming that man as his father. She blinked, trying to make sense of it all. A missing mother. A scared child. Warnings to stay hidden. And a father whose power could overshadow anyone else in their lives. Trinity felt the air thicken. The morning, which had seemed calm moments ago, suddenly felt dangerous. Fragile. Unstable. "Your dad, he's a billionaire?" she asked quietly. Jaden nodded, his small voice barely audible. "Mom said, he doesn't care about us." Trinity's mind raced. She didn't know whether to feel anger, disbelief, or fear for this child. But she knew one thing. Leaving him alone here even for a moment wasn't an option. She had to help him. Somehow. "Okay," she said slowly, choosing her words carefully. "We need to get you somewhere safe. Somewhere your mom would feel okay with." Jaden's eyes widened. Safe. His voice was a mixture of hope and fear. "Yes," Trinity said. "Somewhere we can talk. Somewhere you won't be alone. Can you trust me for that?" He hesitated, gripping the necklace tightly as if holding on to courage itself. Then, with a quiet nod, he allowed her to stand. Trinity extended her hand gently. "Come with me," she said. They started walking toward the street where her house wasn't far away. The morning seemed normal again at first, but Trinity couldn't shake the uneasy feeling pressing against her chest. Every rustling leaf, every passing car felt amplified. She noticed shadows that didn't belong, sounds that didn't fit. Halfway down the block, Jaden paused, glancing over his shoulder. His small hand instinctively brushed the necklace against his chest, like it could protect him from whatever he was hiding from. Trinity stopped with him. "What is it?" she asked softly. I think he's looking for me," Jaden whispered. Her stomach dropped. She had no idea who he was, but the fear in the boy's voice was enough to make her pulse race. The quiet suburban street suddenly felt much too large, much too exposed. Trinity put a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We'll get you safe," she promised. But deep down, a shiver ran down her spine. She had no idea how fast danger was moving, or how close it already was. As they continued walking, Trinity noticed the black SUV that had passed the park earlier, now parked a few houses down the street, engine idling. The tinted windows reflected the sunlight, hiding whoever was inside. Her heart skipped a beat. Jaden didn't notice it yet. He was focused on keeping pace beside her, small legs moving as quickly as possible. But Trinity realized that whatever threat had been shadowing him wasn't far behind. She tightened her grip on his arm, guiding him toward her house. The quiet suburb felt suddenly tense. Every step carried uncertainty. Every shadow could be hiding more than it seemed. Trinity glanced at him, noticing the tremor in his shoulders, the wide-eyed fear, the faint sheen of tears that had dried too quickly on his cheeks. And she knew this morning would not end quietly. Someone, or something, was following them. Trinity led Jaden down the quiet suburban street. Each step weighted with an invisible tension she could feel pressing down on her chest. The morning air had grown crisper, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and faint traces of freshly baked bread from the corner bakery. The calm of Maple Ridge, which had seemed so ordinary just minutes ago, now felt deceptive. Danger felt closer than she wanted to admit. Jaden clutched his backpack like it was the only thing anchoring him to the ground. His small fingers gripped the straps so tightly that the fabric had dug faint red lines into his palms. Every so often, he glanced nervously over his shoulder as if expecting someone, or something, to appear from the shadows. His hood was pulled low over his face, but Trinity could see the tremble in his shoulders, the tension in his jaw. They had only gone a block when Trinity realized that they weren't going to get very far without addressing the elephant in the room. They needed help. "Jaden," she began gently, trying to sound calm, "we can go to the police. They'll help us find your mom." He stiffened immediately. His grip on the backpack tightened, and his small frame seemed to shrink further. "No," he whispered, his voice barely audible but sharp with panic. "Please, don't call them." Trinity froze. The way he said it made her heart tighten. She had expected hesitation, maybe fear, but not this level of urgency. Something had taught him that reaching out for help was dangerous. "Why not?" she asked softly. He shook his head, his dark eyes wide and anxious. "Mom said, if the police get involved it could be worse. Don't call anyone. Just don't." Trinity's stomach twisted. She had grown up in a household where adults called the authorities when things got serious. But looking at Jaden now, she realized this wasn't ordinary. His fear wasn't imaginary. It wasn't childlike exaggeration. This was real. "Okay," she said after a pause, keeping her voice steady. "We won't call anyone, for now. But you have to tell me what's going on, Jaden. Please." He hesitated, his hands still clenching the backpack. Then he whispered almost too softly to hear, "It's my dad." Trinity froze. "Your dad?" she repeated. "Yes," he said, his voice trembling. "Mom said, don't let him find us. She said he's too powerful. That he could hurt us if he knows where we are." Trinity's heart skipped a beat. Powerful? Hurt them? This was no longer just a missing parent situation. This was something much bigger, something tangled with fear, secrecy, and danger. "Jaden, what's your dad's name?" Trinity asked carefully. He hesitated, glancing at the nearest row of houses like someone might appear at any moment. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Christopher Hale." The name hit Trinity like a cold wave. Christopher Hale. Billionaire. Tycoon. Media figure. Household name. The kind of man whose wealth and influence made headlines regularly. She had seen him on the news, read articles about him in magazines, and watched clips online of him in boardrooms and philanthropy events. And now this small boy, trembling beside her, was saying that man was his father. Trinity's mind raced. A missing mother, a frightened child, and warnings to stay hidden from a man of unimaginable power. It didn't make sense. Yet everything about Jaden's fear screamed that it was true. She realized that before they could move forward, she needed to understand the situation completely. "Jaden," she said slowly, "I need to know why your mom told you not to trust anyone. What happened?" He swallowed hard, his throat working like he was forcing down more than just words. Finally he said, She said my dad didn't want us. That he left before I was born. That he wouldn't care if something happened to us." Trinity's chest tightened. She could feel a lump rising in her throat. The kind of fear and abandonment this child carried wasn't something a 10-year-old should ever feel. "And now," she asked softly, "now what do you think?" Jaden hugged his backpack tighter, as if holding on to it might shield him from reality. "I don't know. I just know he's dangerous. And if he finds me, everything could end." Trinity took a deep breath, her own heart racing. This was no longer just a matter of helping a kid home. They needed a plan. A way to keep him safe, to find his mother, and to somehow navigate the truth about a father so powerful that even mentioning his name caused fear. She glanced down the street and noticed the black SUV that had passed the park earlier. It was now parked a few houses ahead, engine idling, tinted windows glinting in the morning sun. Something about its presence made her stomach twist with unease. "Jaden," she said, keeping her voice calm but urgent, "we need to move faster. Can you do that?" He nodded quickly, his small hand brushing the necklace against his chest. It was the only thing anchoring him to reality, the only piece of comfort he had left in a world that seemed increasingly threatening. Trinity led him through the back alleys and side streets she knew from years of riding her bike in Maple Ridge. She hoped the small twists and turns would keep them hidden from whoever, or whatever, was following. Each step made her more aware of the quiet houses lining the street, the occasional rustle of leaves, and the distant bark of a dog that seemed louder than usual. Jaden's breathing was shallow, his steps tentative. Trinity realized she had never felt this responsible for someone's safety before. She had comforted friends, helped neighbors, and guided kids at school, but nothing had ever carried this kind of weight. Every step felt like a test. Every shadow could hold danger. They turned another corner, and Trinity spotted her home a few blocks away, a modest townhouse, warm and familiar. She hoped it would feel safe for Jaden, even though she knew that safe was relative now. "Almost there," she whispered. "Just a little farther." Jaden didn't answer, but she could see the way his small frame was tensing and relaxing in short bursts. The fear in him hadn't faded, it had only adapted, like a shadow clinging to his side. Just as they reached the front steps, a low hum of a vehicle's engine made Trinity freeze. She looked up and saw the black SUV slowly rolling down the street, stopping at the end of the block. Her pulse quickened. Whoever was inside that car wasn't moving randomly. They were watching. Waiting. Jaden's head shot up, his eyes wide. "They're following us," he whispered. Trinity's hand instinctively brushed his arm. "It's okay," she said, though her own voice trembled slightly. "We're almost inside. You're safe with me. Just a few more steps." The SUV's tinted windows reflected the morning sun, hiding the driver's identity. Trinity's stomach tightened. She didn't know if it was someone dangerous, someone connected to Jaden's father, or even someone unrelated. But one thing was certain, the danger wasn't imaginary. They reached the front door. Trinity fumbled with her keys, her hands slightly shaking, while Jaden clutched the necklace like a lifeline. As she opened the door and ushered him inside, she could feel the tension of the street pressing in from the other side. "Inside," she whispered. "You're safe, for now." Jaden stepped in slowly, looking back through the doorway as if the SUV might vanish or stay. She couldn't tell which would be worse. As the door clicked shut behind them, Trinity realized that the calm of the morning had disappeared entirely. The suburban streets that had seemed so ordinary were now the stage for something much larger, much more dangerous than she could have imagined. And as she looked at Jaden, she understood one terrifying truth. The moment they stepped outside that door again, nothing would ever be the same. The moment the front door clicked shut behind them, Trinity felt the weight of everything settle on her shoulders. Her house, normally peaceful, warm, filled with the scent of cinnamon plug-ins and her mom's potted lavender, now felt like a fragile shelter barely holding back the world outside. She listened for a moment. No footsteps, no engine revving, no knock. Just silence. Jaden stood near the entryway, gripping the silver crescent moon necklace so tightly she worried it might snap from the chain. His small chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. "Come in," Trinity said softly, guiding him deeper into the living room. "You're safe here. No one knows you're with me." He nodded but didn't let go of the necklace. His eyes flickered around the room as though memorizing exits, corners, hiding spots. This boy didn't act like a lost child. He acted like someone who had learned to protect himself far too early. Trinity knelt in front of him. "Do you want something to drink? Water? Hot chocolate?" He hesitated. "Water, please." While she stepped into the kitchen, she kept an eye on him through the doorway. Jaden moved slowly toward the couch but didn't sit. Instead, he stood close to the armrest, still facing the door. Still ready to run. Trinity handed him the glass carefully. He drank in small sips, like someone who didn't trust taking their eyes off the world for more than a second. She sat across from him. "You scared me back there," she said gently. "When that SUV showed up, I thought my heart would stop." Jaden's grip on the necklace tightened again. He didn't speak. Trinity leaned forward. "Can you tell me what that necklace means? You hold it all the time. Is it from your mom?" He looked down. His voice was small but steady. "Yes. She gave it to me, the night we left." "The night you left?" Trinity repeated carefully. "Left where?" Jaden blinked hard, fighting tears. "Our apartment. In Newark. Mom said we had to go before anyone saw us." Trinity's mind swirled. This was sounding less like a missing person situation and more like an escape. Did something happen that night? She asked quietly. Jaden looked at the necklace again, letting it rest in his palm. Up close, Trinity could see tiny letters etched into the back, too small to read from where she sat. He whispered, "The necklace, it's a key." Trinity blinked. "A key? What do you mean?" Jaden hesitated, almost as if speaking the truth might put him in danger. "Mom said if something ever happened to her, I should bring this necklace to someone who could help us." "Who?" Trinity asked, heart pounding. Jaden shook his head. "I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just said, 'Follow the mark.'" "Follow the mark?" Trinity repeated. "What kind of mark?" He turned the necklace over and pointed to the tiny engraving. It wasn't random scratches like she first thought. It was a symbol, delicate, swirling, almost like a crescent moon fused with a letter. Trinity leaned in. "What is that?" "A symbol my mom said belonged to someone she trusted," Jaden whispered. "Someone she said would protect me if she couldn't." Trinity stared at the mark. This was getting stranger by the minute. "Do you know where we're supposed to find this person?" Jaden shook his head again. "No. But my mom said, it's not safe to ask the police. Or anyone from my dad's world." Trinity exhaled slowly. "Your dad's world, meaning?" Jaden's eyes filled with fear. "He knows everything. Everyone. Mom said if he finds us, he'll make sure we disappear forever." Trinity swallowed hard. "Disappear? What kind of father?" "What did your mom mean by that, Jaden?" she asked gently. "Disappear how?" He lowered his gaze. "She didn't explain. She just said he has people. Everywhere." Trinity shivered. The SUV outside. The fear in Jaden's eyes. The urgency in his mother's warnings, it all pointed to something terrifying. But she wasn't about to let him face it alone. She sat beside him slowly, careful not to startle him. "Can I see the necklace?" she asked softly. Jaden hesitated, but then placed it carefully into her hand. The metal was cool against her skin. The crescent moon shape had a slight weight to it. When she ran her thumb over the engraving, she noticed the lines weren't shallow. They were etched deeply, skillfully. "Jaden, this isn't just jewelry," she said. "This was made with a purpose." He nodded silently. Trinity flipped it over, noticing something else. The moon shape wasn't completely solid. On one side there was a narrow, almost invisible slit. A seam, maybe. She pressed her thumb lightly against it, trying to see if it opened, but Jaden quickly grabbed her wrist. "No," he gasped. "Mom said don't open it. Not unless I'm with the right person." Trinity froze. "Okay. I won't." He let go slowly. "Why not open it?" she asked softly. "Because," Jaden said, voice trembling, "whatever's inside, it could get us hurt if the wrong people see it." Trinity felt her heart skip. This necklace wasn't just symbolic. It was hiding something valuable. Something dangerous. "You don't know what's inside?" she asked. He shook his head. "No. Mom never showed me. She said, some secrets can save your life. And some can destroy it." A chill ran down Trinity's spine. She handed the necklace back carefully. Jaden clutched it like it was the only steady thing left in his world. Trinity stood up and crossed to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to peek outside. The SUV was still parked at the end of the block. Still waiting. Still watching. "What do they want?" she whispered. "Me," Jaden said softly behind her. "They want me." Trinity turned toward him. "Jaden, why? What are they planning? What does your dad actually want with you?" He shook violently. "I don't know. But Mom said he never wanted me when I was born. Not until now. Not until something changed." Trinity's breath caught. "Changed? Changed how?" Before he could answer, Jaden suddenly stepped back from the window, eyes wide with terror. "What's wrong?" Trinity asked sharply. He pointed with a trembling finger. She leaned toward the window and froze. The black SUV's door was open. A man in a dark suit stepped out. Not rushing. Not running. Walking. Slowly. Purposefully. Toward her house. Trinity's heart slammed against her ribs. Jaden backed up against the couch. clutching the necklace like it was the only thing keeping him alive. The man kept approaching, each step steady, controlled, almost rehearsed. And then he lifted something from inside his coat. Trinity couldn't see what it was, but the way he held it made her stomach twist. He stopped at the foot of her driveway and looked directly at her window. Directly at her. Her breath caught. The man raised a hand and knocked 3 times on the side of the SUV, as if signaling someone else still inside. Trinity's blood ran cold. Someone else was with him. Someone who hadn't stepped out yet. Someone waiting for a signal. Jaden clutched her sleeve so tightly she felt his nails through the fabric. "Trinity," he whispered. "He found us." The afternoon sun dipped low over Maplewood as Tiana stepped out of the school building, her backpack slightly heavier than usual. She had spent her lunch period helping Jordan finish his project, and the emotional weight of everything she had learned about his life still lingered inside her. She scanned the pickup area. Kids rushed to their parents' cars calling out goodbyes. A chorus of laughter, honking horns, and hurried footsteps filled the warm air. Tiana tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear as she waited for her mom's old beige sedan to turn the corner. But instead of her mother, she spotted something unexpected. A sleek black SUV rolled up to the curb. Its windows were tinted, and its polished body looked almost out of place next to the lineup of minivans and dusty pickup trucks. The car came to a slow, deliberate stop right in front of her. The door swung open. Jordan stepped out. His face lit up when he spotted her. He jogged over, pushing the backpack higher onto his shoulder. "Tiana, I was hoping I'd catch you." She blinked, surprised. "Hey, what's going on?" Jordan hesitated, glancing toward the SUV. "Can you come with me for a second? I want you to meet someone." Tiana's stomach fluttered. "Meet who?" Before he could answer, a woman stepped out of the SUV. She was in her late 20s, maybe early 30s, dressed in a neat blazer and jeans. Her presence radiated warmth instead of the intimidating professional demeanor Tiana had expected. "Are you Tiana?" the woman asked with a soft smile. "Yes, ma'am. I'm Danielle. I help take care of Jordan. He talks about you. A lot." Tiana's cheeks warmed. Jordan looked away, mumbling something she couldn't hear. Danielle stepped aside and gestured toward the open back door. "Would you like a ride home? Jordan wanted to show you something." Tiana froze. She wasn't used to fancy cars or being escorted by personal aides. A small part of her wondered what her mom would think. Another part of her felt a knot of curiosity tugging her toward the vehicle. Jordan must have sensed her hesitation. "It's nothing bad, I promise. But it's important." She bit her lip. "Let me call my mom first." Danielle nodded. "Of course." Tiana pulled out her phone and dialed her mother. After a short explanation and a promise to text as soon as she arrived, her mom agreed, hesitant but trusting. She exhaled a shaky breath and nodded. "All right. I'll go." Jordan's relieved smile eased her nerves. They climbed into the SUV. The interior was even more luxurious than it looked from the outside. Soft leather seats, subtle lighting, the faint scent of vanilla. Tiana sank into the seat, her fingers tracing the stitching. Jordan watched her with quiet amusement. "First time in a car like this? Is it obvious?" He laughed lightly. "A little." The car pulled away from the curb, the ride unbelievably smooth. As they drove, Tiana took in the sights outside. Downtown Maplewood fading into wide streets and tall homes she had never explored. She turned toward Jordan. "You said you wanted to show me something?" He nodded but didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked out the window, his expression shifting to something distant. "My dad, he works all the time. You know that. But he asked Danielle to bring me somewhere today. And I want you there." Tiana frowned. "Why me?" Jordan swallowed. "Because you're the only one who actually sees me." Those words hung between them, heavy and fragile. Tiana looked down at her hands, not sure how to respond. The honesty in his voice caught her off guard. The car slowed as they turned into a gated community. Houses here weren't really houses, they were estates. Massive lawns, wrought iron fences, fountains, and long driveways. Tiana felt as if she had been dropped into a different world. "Jordan," she whispered, "where are we?" He didn't answer. Danielle offered a reassuring smile in the rearview mirror. Almost there. They approached a stone mansion at the end of the road. The place looked like something out of a movie, 2 stories, endless windows, pillars at the doorway, and landscaping so perfect it barely looked real. Tiana's throat tightened. "This is your house?" Jordan shook his head. "Not mine." The SUV stopped. The doors unlocked. Jordan stepped out and motioned for her to follow. Tiana climbed out, her legs unsteady. Every part of her felt out of place. Her backpack, her scuffed sneakers, her simple t-shirt. She forced herself to breathe normally. Danielle stayed near the car as the 2 kids walked slowly up the driveway. The front door opened before they even reached it. A tall man in a charcoal suit stood there. Sharp jawline. Dark hair brushed neatly to the side. Eyes that looked both tired and calculating. He was the kind of man people turned their heads to look at, not because he tried to be impressive but because power clung to him like a second skin. "Jordan," the man said, his voice calm, smooth, practiced. "You're early." Jordan stiffened. "Yeah." Danielle drove a little faster today. The man's gaze shifted to Tiana. For a moment she felt pinned in place. "And who is this?" Jordan took a breath. "Dad, this is Tiana. She's my friend." Those words, simple, honest, carried weight. Because Jordan didn't say that lightly. He didn't have many friends. Most kids at school whispered things about him, about his father, about being different. But with Tiana he could be himself. Mr. Kingsley examined her quietly. Tiana fought the urge to shrink under his steady stare. "How do you do, Tiana?" he said, his tone polite but distant. "Fine, sir," she managed. "It's nice to meet you." He nodded once. "Likewise." Jordan tugged Tiana's sleeve gently, signaling her to follow him inside. She stepped past Mr. Kingsley, feeling his gaze linger for a moment. The foyer took her breath away. Marble floors, twin staircases, chandeliers, walls decorated with framed art worth more than her mom's yearly income. "This place is insane," she whispered. Jordan cracked a small smile. "Told you I wanted to show you something." He led her down a hallway, past a room filled with towering bookshelves and another that looked like a private theater. Tiana felt like she was walking through a museum. Finally they stopped in front of a heavy wooden door. Jordan hesitated, his fingers grazing the handle. This is my mom's art room." Tiana blinked. "Your mom? But I thought." "She passed away," he said softly. "When I was little." The weight of his words pressed into her chest. She hadn't known. He never talked about his mother. Jordan pushed the door open. Inside, sunlight poured through wide windows onto shelves filled with paintbrushes, canvases, half-finished sketches, jars of pencils, and photos pinned along the walls. Felt warm, dusty, peaceful, and frozen in time. Tiana stepped inside slowly. "Jordan, this is beautiful." He nodded, his jaw tightening. "My dad keeps everything exactly the way she left it. I don't think he's been in here for years." She walked around the room, taking in the soft colors and gentle strokes on one unfinished painting. It showed a young boy laughing. Jordan, probably around 3 or 4 years old. "She adored you," Tiana whispered. Jordan's voice cracked slightly. "I think so. But after she died, everything changed." Tiana turned to him, but before she could comfort him, the door behind them creaked open. They both turned. Mr. Kingsley stood in the doorway. His expression was unreadable: shock, pain, anger, sorrow. Tiana couldn't tell which emotion was winning. It was the first time she'd seen the billionaire father look human. His gaze locked onto the painting. His breath hitched. Jordan froze. "Dad, I just wanted to show her." Mr. Kingsley stepped fully into the room, his eyes fixed on the unfinished canvas. His hands trembled. Danielle appeared behind him, sensing the tension. "Sir, maybe we should." He raised a hand to silence her. Tiana watched him, confused. Why did he look like someone had punched the air out of his lungs? Why did entering his late wife's room feel like a seismic moment? Jordan swallowed hard. "Dad, it's been years. Why are you?" Mr. Kingsley finally spoke, his voice raw. "This room wasn't supposed to be open today." Tiana felt a chill crawl up her spine. Something was wrong. Jordan frowned. Why not? Mr. Kingsley looked at his son with eyes that held a truth he hadn't planned to reveal. Because, he whispered, someone broke in last night. Tiana's heart slammed against her ribs. Broke in? Jordan asked. Oh, why? Mr. Kingsley's hand tightened into a fist. He turned slowly toward Tiana, and for the first time since she met him, he looked afraid. Tiana, he said quietly, before we go any further, I need to ask you something. Jordan stepped in front of her instinctively. Dad, don't. But his father didn't look away. Why? Mr. Kingsley said in a low, steady voice. Did the intruder leave your name behind? Tiana felt the room tilt. Her breath caught. Her mind spun. Her name? What intruder? Why her? Jordan stared at her, confused and worried. Danielle's hand flew to her mouth. Mr. Kingsley waited, his eyes piercing, demanding an answer she didn't have. The silence grew thick. And then, a loud crash echoed somewhere deep in the mansion. Mr. Kingsley stiffened. Jordan grabbed Tiana's arm. Someone else was inside. Again. And this time, they weren't hiding. The crash echoed through the mansion like a thunderclap, freezing everyone in place. For a split second, the air inside the art room felt electrified, thick, tense, charged with something none of them understood. Jordan instinctively stepped closer to Tiana, gripping her arm tighter. His father stood perfectly still, as if his mind was processing a dozen possibilities at once. Danielle, hovering in the doorway, reached for her phone with trembling fingers. What was that? Jordan whispered. Mr. Kingsley lifted a hand, silencing everyone. His jaw clenched, and he moved with controlled precision toward the hall. Stay behind me, he said, his voice low and firm. Tiana's heart hammered against her ribs. Moments ago, she'd been admiring the gentle strokes of an unfinished painting. Now she was standing in the middle of a billionaire's mansion, hearing sounds no visitor should ever hear. Danielle quickly shut the art room door behind them as she followed Mr. Kingsley out into the hallway. The long corridor stretched ahead, quiet, too quiet. The chandeliers glowed softly above, casting long shadows across the marble floor. Then another sound, a muffled thud, echoed from somewhere deeper inside the mansion. Jordan flinched. Dad, please tell me the security system. It was active, Mr. Kingsley said tightly. Whoever got in disabled it. Tiana shivered. What do they want? Mr. Kingsley didn't answer. His expression remained unreadable, but something in his eyes revealed a truth he wasn't yet saying. Something heavy. Something urgent. They reached the end of the corridor and turned into the living room, an expansive space filled with modern furniture, tall windows, and a fireplace. Everything seemed untouched. Do you think they're still inside? Danielle whispered. Mr. Kingsley nodded once. Yes. He motioned for Jordan and Tiana to stay close. They moved past hallway after hallway, checking corners, listening for any movement. The mansion was enormous. Too many rooms, too many blind spots. As they approached the staircase leading to the downstairs level, Tiana noticed something. A faint glimmer on the step, something metallic. She tugged Jordan's sleeve. What's that? She whispered. Jordan crouched and picked it up. A small metal key. Not new. A little worn. Cold to the touch. Dad. Jordan held it up. Mr. Kingsley's eyes narrowed. That's not ours. Before he could say more, a sharp banging sound erupted from downstairs. The kind of sound made when someone knocked something over, deliberately or in panic. Danielle's voice shook. Sir, should I call the police? Mr. Kingsley hesitated. Not yet. Tiana's brows furrowed. Not yet? There's someone here. His gaze flicked to her, stern but not angry. This isn't a random break-in, Tiana. Her breath caught. What do you mean? Jordan looked between them. Dad, what aren't you telling us? Mr. Kingsley exhaled slowly. Someone who knows this house, someone who knows our routines, got inside last night. And now, apparently, they've returned. A chill ran up Tiana's spine. Jordan's voice rose. Why leave Tiana's name? What does she have to do with this? Mr. Kingsley paused, studying her face as if searching for something. That's what I intend to find out. Before Tiana could respond, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the lower level. Fast, heavy, running, back, Mr. Kingsley ordered. He ushered them behind a tall bookshelf near the staircase. Danielle pressed closer to the wall. Jordan grabbed Tiana's hand instinctively. Then, a figure darted into view at the bottom of the stairs. Dressed in dark clothing. Hoodie pulled low. Face covered. The figure froze when they looked up the staircase, seeing silhouettes, not details. Then they bolted toward the far hallway. Stop! Mr. Kingsley shouted as he charged down the stairs. Dad! Jordan cried. Danielle grabbed his shoulder. Stay here. But Mr. Kingsley was already chasing the intruder down the hall. The sounds of their footsteps, one powerful and controlled, the other frantic, echoed through the mansion. For a moment time felt suspended. Then, a loud crash, followed by a sharp, pained grunt. Dad! Jordan broke free from Danielle and sprinted down the stairs. Jordan, wait! Tiana called. But Jordan didn't stop. Tiana and Danielle ran after him, fear climbing up their throats. They followed the sounds into a wide study room lined with bookshelves and a large desk made of dark wood. Papers were scattered everywhere, and the window behind the desk was open, curtains billowing in the breeze. Mr. Kingsley stood off to the side, clutching his arm, grimacing. The intruder was gone. Jordan rushed to him. Dad, are you okay? I'm fine, he grunted. They went out through the window. Tiana glanced at the window. A rope hung from it, tied to the desk. The intruder had planned this escape. They knew exactly where to go, she whispered. Danielle helped steady Mr. Kingsley. He waved her off. It's just a scrape. I've had worse. Jordan looked at the mess on the floor. What were they after? Mr. Kingsley didn't respond. Not immediately. He walked slowly toward the desk and opened a drawer. Empty. He opened the second. Also empty. Tiana exchanged a nervous glance with Danielle. Then Mr. Kingsley opened the bottom drawer. His expression shifted from controlled tension to outright alarm. No, he whispered. Jordan stiffened. Dad? What's missing? Mr. Kingsley ran a trembling hand through his hair. A folder. A very old one. Tiana stepped closer. What was in it? For a long, drawn moment, the billionaire said nothing. Then he turned to face her. His voice low. Your name was in it. The room went silent. Jordan stared at her with wide eyes. What? Dad, what does that mean? Tiana felt her heartbeat take off in her chest. Why would my name be in your files? I only met Jordan a few days ago. Mr. Kingsley studied her intently, as if trying to piece together something buried deep in the past. This doesn't make sense, he muttered. Your name shouldn't have resurfaced. Not now. Tiana's breath stuttered. Resurfaced? Resurfaced from what? Before he could answer, the mansion alarm system suddenly blared, lights flashing red across the room. Danielle gasped. They triggered something. Mr. Kingsley spun toward the door. That means they're still on the property. Jordan grabbed Tiana's hand. We need to move. The four of them hurried toward the hallway, the alarm ringing through the house. Tiana felt panic rising in her chest, but beneath it, something else simmered. A question. A fear. A truth she could feel closing in on her. She tightened her grip on Jordan's hand. Mr. Kingsley, she shouted over the alarm, I need to know, what does any of this have to do with me? Mr. Kingsley glanced back at her, eyes heavy with something she had never seen in any adult before. Not anger, not fear, but recognition. It's time you know the truth, he said. They rushed into the hall, only to find a shadowy figure standing at the top of the stairs. Waiting. Watching. Holding something small and familiar in their hand. Tiana's school ID card. The world around her tilted. And the intruder finally spoke. I've been looking for you for a long time. Tiana's lungs went still. Tiana felt the world pull tight around her. The intruder stepped closer, the hallway lights flickering as if reacting to the tension in the air. The figure still wore a dark hoodie pulled low, but now their voice, low, gravelly, unmistakably adult, echoed straight into her bones. I've been looking for you for a long time. Jordan stepped in front of her instantly, blocking the stranger's view. "Don't you touch her." Mr. Kingsley raised an arm, keeping Jordan close while taking a protective stance. His jaw clenched hard, anger building behind his controlled expression. "Who are you?" he demanded. "And why do you have that?" The hooded figure held up Tiana's school ID card between two gloved fingers, letting it sway in the air. "You know exactly who I am," they said. "And you know exactly what I came for." Mr. Kingsley stiffened. Not with surprise, but with recognition. Tiana noticed. Jordan noticed. Even Danielle, frozen behind them, noticed. "Sir," Danielle whispered urgently, "security is on their way." The intruder didn't seem bothered. "They won't get here in time." Tiana's heart pounded. "What do you want with me?" The figure tilted their head. Then, slowly, deliberately, they pulled down the hood. A woman. Her hair dark and tangled, face sharp and tired, eyes burning with something between desperation and determination. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Someone carrying a story no one else knew. Her gaze locked onto Tiana. "You don't remember me, do you?" the woman said softly. Tiana swallowed. "I've never seen you before." The woman smiled, strained and broken. "That's the closest lie you've told all night." Tiana's stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. Mr. Kingsley stepped forward, voice low. "Enough. This isn't the place." The woman snapped her eyes to him. "You don't get to decide that. Not after what you did." Jordan's eyes widened. "What he did? Dad, what is she talking about?" The tension in the room shot to a dangerous edge. The woman took a step backward toward the staircase. "You've hidden her long enough. And now everything you've buried is coming back." Mr. Kingsley barked. "You need to leave this house before." "Before what?" she shot back. "Before your people show up? Before another child gets pulled into your version of the truth? Before Tiana realizes what you've kept from her?" Tiana's breath caught. Her skin prickled. "What does any of this have to do with me?" she cried. The woman's expression softened, not kind but pained. "Sweetheart, you should have been told years ago." Jordan turned to his father. "Dad, you need to explain this. Right now." But Mr. Kingsley didn't answer. His silence said more than words could. The woman's eyes glistened. She lifted the ID again. "She's not who you think she is. And neither are you." Before Tiana could speak, footsteps echoed from downstairs, security rushing in. The woman's eyes darted toward the noise. In one swift motion, she tossed the ID toward Tiana. It fluttered through the air, landing at her feet. "When you're ready to know the truth," the woman said, "follow the mark." Tiana froze. The mark. Her hand flew to the necklace hidden in her pocket, the crescent-shaped charm with a symbol etched into the metal. Jaden's necklace. Her mind spun. Before anyone could move, the woman bolted down the hallway toward the back staircase. "Stop!" Mr. Kingsley yelled as he sprinted after her. Jordan grabbed Tiana's hand. "Come on." But she didn't move. She couldn't. Her mind was replaying the woman's voice in a loop. "Follow the mark. Follow the mark." The mark, the same phrase Jaden had heard from his mother. The same symbol on his necklace. The same symbol the intruder now acted as if Tiana should recognize. What did that mean? Why her? Jordan tugged her hand again. "Tiana, we have to go." She finally blinked out of her shock and followed Jordan toward the main staircase. Security rushed past them, shouting orders, weapons drawn, scattering through the hallways and checking every room. But the woman was gone. By the time they reached the main foyer, Mr. Kingsley stood near the front doors, hands on his hips, breathing hard. Anger simmered beneath his calm exterior. Jordan rushed to him. "Dad, did you catch her?" "No," he said tightly. "She escaped through the south exit." Danielle shook her head. She knew the layout. Every blind spot. Every corridor. "And she knew me," Tiana whispered. Everyone turned to look at her. Jordan stepped beside her. "Tiana, what did she mean? You don't know her, right?" Tiana stared at the ID card in her hand. "I don't think so." Her voice cracked. "But when she looked at me, it felt like she knew everything about me." Mr. Kingsley's silence pressed down on the room like a heavy blanket. Jordan lifted his gaze to his father. "Dad, you knew her, didn't you?" Mr. Kingsley said nothing. Danielle spoke quietly, as though afraid of confirming what they all already sensed. "Sir, she knew your name. And she knew the house." "Who was she?" Still silent. Not denial. Not ignorance. Silence. That was worse. Tiana's voice trembled. "Why did she say you hid me? Why did she say I should have been told the truth?" Mr. Kingsley turned, looking at her with an expression she had never seen from any adult. Guilt and fear wrapped into one. Before he could answer, the head of security rushed into the foyer. "Sir, we found this outside one of the windows she used." He handed Mr. Kingsley a folded piece of paper. The billionaire unfolded it slowly. His face drained of color. Jordan stepped closer. "Dad? What is it?" Tiana leaned forward. The paper held a single symbol, drawn in bold, black ink. The same symbol etched into Jaden's necklace. The symbol Jaden's mother said would lead him to the truth. Mr. Kingsley crushed the paper in his fist. Jordan inhaled sharply. "Dad, why is that symbol here? What does it mean?" Tiana felt her knees weaken. "Why am I connected to it?" she whispered. Mr. Kingsley looked at her, eyes heavy with a truth he had been running from, and finally spoke. "That symbol belongs to a group I thought no one would ever find again." Jordan froze. "A group?" Mr. Kingsley nodded slowly. "A group that connects you, Tiana, to something far more dangerous than you can imagine." Tiana's heart stuttered. "Connected how?" she asked. Mr. Kingsley opened his mouth. But before he could say a word, the alarm system blared again. A second intrusion alert. Everyone whipped toward the monitors. Security ran. Danielle gasped. "Tiana," Jordan whispered, "turn around." She did. And there, pressed against the glass doors of the foyer, was a small boy, a familiar boy, eyes wide with terror. His hands smeared against the glass. Jaden. And behind him, a shadow. A figure grabbing him and pulling him backward. Before Tiana could scream, Jaden vanished into the night. Tiana didn't think. It was pure reflex. "Jaden," she screamed as she bolted toward the front doors. Jordan grabbed her arm before she could fling herself outside. "Tiana, wait, there could be more of them." She tore herself free. "They took him. He came here for help." The foyer erupted into chaos. Security sprinted in every direction. 2 guards rushed to the monitors while others fanned out across the exterior of the mansion. Mr. Kingsley snapped orders left and right, his voice sharper and more commanding than Tiana had ever heard. "Lock down the east wing. Floodlights on. Cut off every exit from the grounds." But to Tiana, their voices blurred into background noise. Her heartbeat was too loud. Her mind too frantic. She pushed her face against the glass doors, scanning the sprawling front yard. Nothing. The driveway lights were on, but the night swallowed everything beyond them. The trees swayed in the wind, their shadows stretching across the grass like arms reaching for something already gone. Jordan joined her at the door, chest heaving. "Tiana, we're going to find him. I promise." But his voice trembled. Behind them, the head of security barked. "Sir, we found footprints heading toward the outer fence, small ones. Likely the boy." Tiana spun around. "Follow them." "We are," he answered. "But there are larger prints too. The kid wasn't alone." That hit Tiana like a punch. Of course Jaden wasn't alone. Somebody dragged him there. Somebody wanted him. Somebody who wanted her too. Mr. Kingsley strode toward her, tension tightening every line of his face. "Tiana, I need you to stay inside. You're not safe out there." She matched his stare. "Neither is he. You don't understand." "No," she snapped, "you're the one who doesn't understand. He found his way to your door. He trusted us. He tried to warn me. And now he's been taken because of all this. This symbol, this secret you keep refusing to explain." Jordan stepped between them, hands up. "Dad, she's right. You know more than you're saying. And whatever you're hiding, it's hurting people." Mr. Kingsley inhaled sharply, then turned away, walking toward the security screens. "This isn't the moment." "It is the moment." Tiana yelled. Jordan flinched at her intensity. She never raised her voice, ever. But tonight she felt something inside her crack open. Fear mixed with anger. Confusion mixed with instinct. She couldn't explain it, but she felt connected. To Jaden. To the symbol. To the woman who'd warned her. Mr. Kingsley slowly turned back to her. You want answers? He asked quietly. Tiana nodded, breath shaky. Yes. You'll get them, he said. But first we find the boy. Security stormed through the foyer, reporting movements, camera angles, shadows, and paths. But Tiana couldn't stay still. She paced along the front windows, eyes locked on the dark yard outside. Jordan stayed beside her. This is insane, he whispered. Why is everything suddenly connected? Your name in my father's files. That symbol showing up on the note. Jaden's necklace. And now someone taking him right from the doorstep. Tiana pressed a hand to her forehead. I don't know. But something tells me, this isn't new. This didn't start today. What do you mean? She hesitated. Jordan. I felt like someone's been watching me for months. Jordan's breath caught. Why didn't you say anything? Because I thought I was imagining it, she said softly. But now, every strange feeling I ever ignored suddenly makes sense. Before he could reply, the head of security rushed back in. Sir, he called to Mr. Kingsley, camera 11 picked up something. You're going to want to see this. They hurried toward the security monitors. The screen flickered, showing a grainy night vision angle of the side gate. Jaden appeared, stumbling forward, eyes wide, looking over his shoulder. He pressed his hands against the bars, trying to push it open. A figure stepped out of the darkness behind him. Tiana's stomach churned. Tall. Hooded. Face hidden. The figure grabbed Jaden by the arm. He jerked back, trying to fight, but the grip was too strong. The intruder leaned in close, whispering something in the child's ear. Jaden froze. Something they said stunned him, paralyzed him. Then the figure yanked him away from the gate. The camera caught only one clear detail before the two slipped into the trees. A symbol. Painted on the intruder's glove. The same symbol etched into the necklace. The same symbol drawn on the note left in the mansion. The same symbol the woman told her to follow. The symbol of the group Mr. Kingsley said should have disappeared long ago. Tiana's voice cracked. Jordan, that's the mark. Jordan looked at her, face pale. Why is it everywhere? What does it mean? Before she could answer, another guard entered with a bag in hand. Sir, we found something by the gate. Mr. Kingsley opened the bag. Inside was a small scrap of torn fabric. Dark blue. With a faint crescent symbol printed on it. Mr. Kingsley's eyes hardened. This confirms it. Tiana stepped closer. Confirms what? He looked at her, really looked at her, as though seeing her not as a guest, not as Jordan's friend, but as the missing piece in a puzzle he tried to bury. You're involved, he said quietly. More than you know. Tiana felt cold. But I don't understand. You will, he replied. But Jaden comes first. Security teams were already outside, combing through the wooded edges of the property with flashlights. Jordan grabbed a jacket. Dad, I'm going out to help. No, Mr. Kingsley barked. Jordan squared his shoulders. You can't stop me. Someone took a child from our doorstep. I'm not hiding while they run free. Tiana grabbed her jacket too. I'm going with him. No, Mr. Kingsley repeated firmly. Both of you stay inside. That's final. Tiana stepped forward. You can't protect us with half-truths anymore. Whatever this symbol means, whatever this group is, I need to understand why they want me. And why they took him. Her voice wavered, but her resolve didn't. Mr. Kingsley hesitated. Danielle, standing in the corner, whispered, Sir, she deserves to know. Silence stretched. Then Mr. Kingsley sighed heavily. Fine. But if you're going outside, you don't leave my sight. Jordan didn't wait for further permission. He grabbed a flashlight and pulled Tiana toward the side door. Mr. Kingsley followed close behind. The night air hit Tiana's face like a slap, sharp and cold. The ground stretched in every direction, huge and shadowed. Leaves rustled under their feet as the three of them made their way toward the fence line. Then something glinted in the grass. Tiana crouched down. A tiny metal object rested near the dirt. Her breath stilled. It was the crescent necklace. Jaden's necklace. The slit in the metal glowed faintly under the flashlight beam, as if something inside it strained to get out. She lifted it with trembling fingers. "He dropped it," Jordan whispered. "No," Tiana murmured. "He left it." Mr. Kingsley stepped closer. "Why would he do that?" "Because he wanted me to find it." She turned the necklace over, and froze. The tiny slit was no longer closed. The necklace had cracked open from the inside. A small rolled piece of paper fell into her palm. Tiana unrolled it, her hands shaking. Jordan leaned over her shoulder. Mr. Kingsley stepped closer. One sentence was written inside, in rushed, messy handwriting, almost certainly Jaden's mother's. "If they found him, they will come for her next." Tiana's heart slammed against her ribs. Jordan grabbed her arm. "What does that mean?" "Come for who?" Tiana felt her voice catch. Her name wasn't on the paper. But she didn't need it to be. Because near the bottom of the note, drawn in dark ink, was the symbol. The same symbol as before. Except now, it wasn't alone. Next to it, written in small, trembling letters, was a name. Her name. Tiana stared at it, her vision blurring. Someone had written her name beside the symbol long before tonight. Long before she met Jordan. Long before she saw Jaden. Jordan leaned close, stunned. "Tiana, why is your name next to their mark?" Tiana couldn't breathe. Her throat tightened. Her hands shook. She turned to Mr. Kingsley, voice barely above a whisper. "What have you been hiding from me?" Mr. Kingsley opened his mouth to answer. But before a single word escaped, the lights around the mansion flickered violently. Once, twice. Then plunged the entire property into darkness. Every flashlight went out. Every motion light died. Every lantern blinked off. The whole world disappeared in black. And in that sudden, suffocating silence, something moved behind them. A single footstep. Slow. Deliberate. Close. Too close. The police cruiser rolled slowly through the iron gates of the Ashford estate, its tires crunching over the long gravel driveway. Streetlights couldn't reach this high up into the wooded hillside. Instead, powerful ground lights illuminated the driveway in soft gold, revealing towering trees, manicured hedges, and a stillness that didn't feel peaceful at all. It felt hollow, like a place that echoed. Talia had expected some grand estate straight out of a magazine, full of life, sound, motion. But as she stepped out of the car behind Mr. O'Neill and Jaden, she couldn't shake the strange heaviness in the air. The mansion stood 4 stories tall, with wide stone steps and tall windows glowing faintly from interior lights left on. But despite all the grandeur, it looked abandoned, emotionally at least. Jaden's small hand tightened around Talia's. He'd been glued to her ever since the hospital visit ended abruptly. Why are the lights on if nobody's home?" he whispered. Talia glanced at Mr. O'Neill. He hesitated. "The staff maintains the house, but most of them were dismissed temporarily. Mr. Ashford wanted privacy." "But Mr. Ashford wasn't even here," Talia said quietly. Mr. O'Neill didn't respond. He just swallowed hard and started up the steps. Inside, the mansion was silent, too silent. A faint scent of lemon polish and lavender hung in the massive foyer, where marble floors stretched endlessly and a sweeping staircase curled toward the second level. Expensive art covered the walls, and a sparkling chandelier swayed slightly, as though someone had walked beneath it moments earlier. Talia didn't know much about rich people's houses. But she knew energy. She could feel when a place had warmth, and when it didn't. This place was ice. Jaden's voice trembled. "Dad said he'd be home by now." "We'll look for him," Mr. O'Neill reassured. "He's probably in his office." But Talia saw the flicker of suspicion cross his face, just for a second. They walked through hallways lined with portraits, most of them featuring Jaden and a woman Talia assumed was his late mother. The boy slowed down whenever he passed one. The girl in the portrait smiled kindly, holding Jaden in her arms in a sunny backyard. Talia whispered, "She was beautiful." Jaden nodded softly. "Her name was Mariah. She used to sing to me every night. Talia squeezed his hand. I'm sure she'd be proud of you. He didn't answer. But he didn't let go. Mr. O'Neill paused outside a tall wooden door. This is Mr. Ashford's study. He knocked. No answer. He pushed it open. The room was enormous, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a long walnut desk, and large windows overlooking the forest behind the estate. Papers were scattered across the desk. A jacket was draped over the chair, and a half-empty glass of water sat beside an open laptop. He was here, Mr. O'Neill said, voice tightening. Today. Jaden stepped toward the desk, scanning the scattered documents. Dad never leaves a mess. Talia walked toward the windows, noticing something odd. Shadowy tire marks were still visible on the circular drive below. Not from the police cruiser. These were older. Fresh enough to still look defined. Someone left in a hurry, she murmured. Mr. O'Neill looked up sharply. What? She pointed. Those tracks. They don't look like they're from earlier today. But, definitely recent. Jaden swallowed. But Dad told me he was coming back here. Why would he leave again? Mr. O'Neill didn't answer. He walked over to the desk and picked up a small silver key lying beside the laptop. This is his private safe key, he muttered. He never leaves this out. Talia's stomach tightened. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Jaden tugged her sleeve. What if something happened to him? She crouched to eye level. We'll figure this out. I promise. But even as she said it, a chill ran down her spine. Mr. O'Neill unlocked a panel behind a bookshelf. A small safe sat inside, already cracked open. Inside were stacks of files, some missing, others tossed in disarray. What's supposed to be in there? Talia asked. Documents, he answered. Personal, financial. He hesitated. And information regarding certain ongoing matters. Talia frowned. What kind of matters? Before he could answer, Jaden gasped. He held something in his hands. Something Talia hadn't noticed on the shelf. A small black device. A recorder. It was blinking, Jaden whispered. Like someone turned it on recently. Mr. O'Neill's expression hardened. He rushed over, took the recorder, clicked the play button. Soft static. Shuffling. A voice came through. Clayton Ashford's voice. Stressed. Uneven. I don't know who I can trust anymore. Something happens to me before I meet Jaden. This will be the record. They've been following me for weeks, but tonight it got worse. I think they know where I'm heading next. If I don't make it. The recording cut off abruptly. Jaden froze. Talia felt her breath catch. Mr. O'Neill stared at the recorder in disbelief. What does he mean they? Talia asked, voice shaking. I didn't know he was being followed, Mr. O'Neill murmured, his face paling. This isn't good. This isn't good at all. Jaden's lip trembled. Someone's after my dad? Mr. O'Neill put a hand on his shoulder. We don't know yet. But he said it too fast, too defensive. Talia noticed. Let's check the security footage, she said. If he was here today, the cameras must have caught something. Mr. O'Neill hesitated again. Too long this time. The system may not be active. Talia's eyes narrowed. What do you mean may not? He rubbed his temple. Mr. Ashford recently disconnected the automated feeds. He didn't want digital traces of his movements. Why would he do that unless he was scared? She challenged. He didn't answer. Instead, he went to the wall, pressed a hidden button, and a small surveillance panel slid out. The screens flickered to life, showing multiple angles of the property. All static. Except one. A back entrance camera showing the staff parking area. A timestamp blinked in the corner, less than 1 hour ago. A car, Talia whispered. A dark vehicle sat idling behind the house. Its windows were tinted. Its engine was running. And then, the driver stepped out. A tall figure dressed in black, face obscured by a hood. Jaden clutched Talia's arm, fear radiating off him. That's not Dad. The figure moved quickly, purposefully toward a side door. Paused. Looked directly at the camera. Even through the grainy footage, Talia felt a jolt. Whoever it was, they wanted to be seen. The screen suddenly went dark. A loud pop echoed from the mansion's exterior, the security system shutting down entirely. Mr. O'Neill's voice dropped to a whisper. Everyone stay together. Talia's pulse hammered. Something was wrong. Something was coming. Jaden pressed against her side. Should we call the police? She whispered. Mr. O'Neill shook his head. Not yet. His tone made it clear, he wasn't just worried about the intruder. He was worried about who might hear the call. A soft metallic sound echoed from somewhere deeper within the house. Like a door. Opening. Jaden flinched. Talia's breath caught. Mr. O'Neill motioned them behind him, stepping slowly toward the hallway. Then, a shadow moved across the floor. A figure stepped into view. Not the hooded person. Someone else. Talia's eyes widened as the man emerged into the light. And the mini cliffhanger lands. The man froze when he saw them all. Jaden gasped. Dad? The figure stepped forward. But his expression wasn't one of relief. It was fear. Deep, exhausted fear. Talia, Mr. O'Neill whispered. Take Jaden. Now. The man who looked exactly like Clayton Ashford opened his mouth and said a sentence that made the entire room go cold. I'm not who you think I am. The foyer lights flickered as the man stepped fully into view. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair slightly disheveled, and his eyes carried a haunted look, like someone who had been running for days. He looked so much like Clayton Ashford that for a moment, Talia thought it had to be him. Same jawline, same height, same tense posture. But the fear in his voice, raw and unfiltered, made the hairs rise on her arms. Jaden clung to her side. His voice trembled. Dad? The man swallowed, shaking his head slowly. I'm not your father, he whispered. But we don't have much time. He sent me here. To find you. Mr. O'Neill stepped forward, hand discreetly resting on something beneath his jacket. A holster? A radio? Talia couldn't tell. Identify yourself, he demanded. The man raised both hands, palms open. My name is Brandon Hale. I'm your boss's brother. Talia's breath hitched. Brother? Clayton doesn't have a brother. Brandon nodded, almost apologetically. I know. He kept me hidden for a reason. Jaden stared, confused and frightened. Dad never told me. He couldn't, Brandon cut in softly. It was safer that way. For both of you. Silence dropped heavily across the room. Talia stepped slightly in front of Jaden, protective instinct kicking in. How do we know you're telling the truth? Brandon reached slowly into his jacket. Mr. O'Neill reached for his concealed weapon, but Brandon held up a hand. It's just a letter, he said. He pulled out an envelope, creased, water-stained, and sealed with a small embossed A. He extended it to Mr. O'Neill. This is from Clayton. He told me to bring it here tonight. He said if anything happened to him, this letter would explain everything. Mr. O'Neill snatched it and tore it open. Talia watched his eyes as they scanned the contents, and saw the color drain from his face. What does it say? She asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned the letter toward her and Jaden. The handwriting was unmistakable, smooth, controlled, written with the signature slant Clayton used on every document. If you're reading this, I've run out of time. Jaden, I need you to trust the man who brings you this letter. He is my brother. And he is the only one who knows the truth about what's happening. Jaden's hands shook as he read the next line. I never told you he existed because I didn't want our enemies to discover him. Or you. Talia felt her stomach twist. Enemies. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was real. Mr. O'Neill lowered the letter slowly. Clayton never said a word about family besides his wife and son. Brandon nodded. Because our family name brought danger. I stayed off the grid for years. No photos. No records. Nothing. It was the only way to survive. Survive what? Talia asked. Brandon looked at her, then at the darkened surveillance monitors. The people following Clayton. The ones who forced him to disappear. Jaden swallowed hard. Is he alive? Yes, Brandon said firmly. He's alive. But he's being hunted. Talia put an arm around Jaden as his eyes filled. The boy was trying so hard to hold himself together. Mr. O'Neill stepped closer, voice low but urgent. Why did Clayton send you here now? What's changed? Brandon pointed toward the forest behind the estate. Tonight, Clayton realized they were closing in. He barely escaped. He told me to retrieve Jaden and bring him somewhere safe. Safe from who? Talia pressed. Brandon's jaw tightened. People he used to work with. People who think he still has something they want. What does he have? She asked. Brandon met her eyes with a seriousness that chilled her. Evidence. Enough to put several powerful men in prison for the rest of their lives. Talia's pulse stumbled. So these people, they're dangerous? Extremely. Jaden tugged her shirt sleeve, whispering shakily, Why would they come after me? Brandon knelt to meet his eyes. Because Clayton's one weakness, his only weakness, is you. If they get to you, he'll come out of hiding. And that's what they want. Jaden's breathing turned shallow. Talia rested her hand on his shoulder, grounding him. Mr. O'Neill clenched his teeth. Brandon, if what you're saying is true, we need to get them out of here. Now. Brandon nodded. Exactly. But once we leave the estate, we're exposed. They could already be watching. As if on cue, a faint clang echoed from somewhere outside, metal hitting metal. Jaden jumped. Talia's heart lurched. What was that? She whispered. Brandon's eyes flicked to the hallway. They're here. Mr. O'Neill moved immediately, voice sharp. Everyone to the panic room. Now. Jaden grabbed Talia's hand, both of them stumbling after Mr. O'Neill and Brandon as they hurried down the long corridor. The mansion's atmosphere shifted, like air tightening around them. Every shadow felt suspicious. Every sound felt louder. Talia heard footsteps. Somewhere behind them. Slow. Measured. Someone was inside the house. Brandon stopped at a bookshelf, pulled out a thick volume, and the shelf slid open to reveal a steel-reinforced door. In, he ordered. Talia ushered Jaden inside. The room was surprisingly spacious, lined with supplies, screens, and its own ventilation unit. But just as Brandon stepped in behind them, a voice echoed from the hallway. A man's voice. Cold. Confident. You can't hide forever, Brandon. Talia froze. Brandon went rigid. The voice continued, taunting. We know the boy is with you. Bring him out and maybe we won't hurt the others. Jaden whimpered and pressed into Talia. Brandon reached for the panic room door. Mr. O'Neill pulled him back. Wait. The footsteps grew louder. Closer. The intruder was only yards away. Brandon's hand trembled over the control panel. We have to shut the door. But before he could, the lights in the hallway abruptly went out. Total darkness. Then, a different voice emerged from the shadows. Brandon. It's me. A flashlight beam flicked on. A man stepped into view. And Talia felt shock rip through her chest. Clayton Ashford. Alive. Right there. But the moment Jaden gasped, Dad, and started forward, Clayton raised a hand, eyes wide with warning. Don't move. His voice cracked. His expression was full of dread. And then he whispered the most terrifying words yet. The man you heard yelling, he wasn't lying. But he isn't the one chasing us anymore. Someone far worse is here. Talia's heart thundered. Jaden froze mid-step. Clayton's flashlight hand shook. They found me, he said. They followed me home. He looked straight at Brandon. We're not facing one enemy tonight, we're facing three. The hallway lights flickered back on, dim, unstable, casting long, trembling shadows across the wooden floor. Clayton stood several yards away from the panic room, breathing heavily, clothes damp with sweat, hair sticking to his brow. He looked nothing like the polished billionaire the media always showed. He looked hunted. Brandon instinctively stepped in front of Talia and Jaden, shielding them. Clay, he whispered. How did they follow you here? Clayton swallowed, eyes frantic. Because I'm not dealing with just one group anymore. I've been trying to outrun them for weeks, but they started working together. Talia frowned. Who exactly are we talking about? Clayton lifted the flashlight, scanning the hallway as if he expected someone to leap from the shadows any second. 2 weeks ago, he began, I discovered something. A file I wasn't meant to see. Corruption, Deep, systemic, tied to companies and individuals who hide behind charity foundations and business contracts. He exhaled shakily. When I tried to report it, someone intercepted my message. That same night, a black SUV started following me everywhere. Jaden trembled, gripping Talia's hand. Why didn't you tell me, Dad? Clayton's face softened with heartbreak. Because they were watching every step I took, Jaden. I couldn't risk leading them to you. Brandon's jaw clenched. And the second group? Clayton nodded. When they realized I was preparing to expose them, they sent mercenaries. Former military. The kind who don't leave survivors. Talia's stomach twisted. And the third? She whispered. Clayton hesitated, gaze darkening. A group that shouldn't even know I exist. Brandon stiffened. Them? Clayton nodded grimly. That's impossible, Brandon hissed. They don't operate on U.S. soil. They don't operate openly anywhere. Clayton lowered his voice. They do when someone steals from them. Jaden's eyes widened. What did you take? Clayton looked directly at his son. Proof, he said. Proof of what they did, and who they hurt. Talia didn't know what scared her more, the vague answers or the panic in Clayton's eyes. A sudden bang from the far end of the hallway made everyone freeze. Clayton whipped around, flashlight trembling. We don't have time. They're already inside. Mr. O'Neill cursed under his breath. Clay, we need to get everyone into the panic room. Now. But Clayton shook his head. If we shut the door, they'll cut the power and starve us out. They know how these systems work. They've probably already looped the security feeds. Another loud metallic clang echoed, closer this time. Jaden pressed his face into Talia's side, voice cracking. Dad, please, we have to hide. Clayton crouched down and placed both hands on Jaden's shoulders. His voice dropped to a trembling whisper. I won't let anything happen to you. But if we hide, we lose time. And they'll breach the door eventually. He stood again, turning to Brandon. We need to get to the lower garage. There's a transport tunnel that leads to the old caretaker's cabin. If we reach it, we can escape into the woods. Mr. O'Neill froze. You never told me that tunnel still existed. Clayton's expression was sharp. Because I didn't want anyone to know. Not even you. Talia caught the brief, hurt flicker in O'Neill's eyes. Even he was discovering secrets tonight. Clayton motioned them toward the back staircase. We have about 90 seconds. Follow me. Stay low. Don't speak unless absolutely necessary. They moved quickly down the hallway, footsteps muffled against the carpet runner. But just as Clayton reached the staircase, a chilling sound echoed from below. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Someone was coming up from the lower level. Clayton immediately pulled Jaden behind him and motioned the group backward. He pressed them against the wall, extinguished the flashlight, and whispered, They've cut us off from the garage. Brandon's voice was tight. Then the forest route, through the solarium doors. Clayton nodded once. Go. I'll hold them off long enough for you to reach the porch. Jaden panicked. No. You can't stay. Clayton cupped his son's cheek. I'll be right behind you, I promise. But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Talia grabbed his arm. You can't face them alone. He met her eyes, pleading, desperate. I can't run with all of you. I'll draw them away. You get the boy to safety. Before she could argue, a sharp, metallic click echoed nearby. A laser sight swept the far wall, red, a pinpoint of death moving closer. Clayton shoved the group toward Brandon. Run. Brandon grabbed Talia's wrist and pulled her with him, Jaden between them. They sprinted toward the solarium, a long glass corridor overlooking the gardens. Moonlight spilled through the windows, casting broken stripes along the floor. Behind them, voices erupted. Target moving West Hall. He's not alone, take the others alive if possible. Watch the boy, he's priority. Jaden stumbled in terror. Talia scooped him up without breaking stride. Brandon shoved open the solarium door just as a bullet shattered the glass panel to their right. Jaden screamed and buried his face against Talia. Keep going. Brandon yelled. They ran down the glass corridor, boots and sneakers thudding against the tile. More glass shattered behind them as bullets slammed into the windows. Mr. O'Neill reached the end of the solarium first and threw open the exterior door. Cold night air rushed in. "Through the garden," he shouted. But as Talia stepped out with Jaden, her breath caught in her throat. 3 men, dressed in black tactical gear, faces concealed, weapons raised. They were waiting for them. Brandon skidded to a stop. Back inside. Before they could retreat, one of the masked men spoke. His voice was disturbingly calm. "Hand over the boy and no one else has to get hurt." Jaden whimpered. Talia pulled him closer, heart pounding violently. Brandon stepped between them and the intruders. "You're not touching him." The lead man's head tilted. "You don't have a choice." Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed. Clayton's pursuers were closing in from inside the mansion. They were surrounded. Talia's mind raced. There had to be a way out. A blind spot. A weakness. Then she remembered. During their tour of the estate earlier, she'd noticed a small maintenance hatch by the koi pond. It led to an underground irrigation tunnel. It wasn't meant for escape, but it might be their only chance. She pointed subtly to the right, whispering, "Brandon? There." The pond hatch. He followed her glance. Recognition sparked. Hope flickered. He leaned toward her. "When I say go, run with him." Her pulse hammered. "What about you?" "I'll distract them." "Brandon, no." But it was too late. He shoved her toward the pond with sudden force and yelled, "Go!" At the same time, he hurled a garden lantern at the men, hard enough that the metal clanged off one of their helmets. The shock made them duck. Gunfire erupted. Talia sprinted through the garden with Jaden in her arms, Mr. O'Neill beside her, bullets slicing through the shrubs and statues. Behind them, Brandon fell to his knees as a round struck his shoulder. Clayton's shout echoed through the chaos. And Talia realized with devastating clarity, they were no longer just trying to escape. They were fighting to survive the night. Jade woke up before the sun, long before the usual noise of the city crept into the morning air. Her eyes opened to the soft hum of the heater in the quiet apartment Mr. Grant had arranged for her. It still felt unreal, this warm bed, clean sheets, a silent room where no one shouted, judged, or sighed in disappointment. She sat up slowly, rubbing her eyes as if trying to confirm she wasn't dreaming. Outside the small window, faint streaks of gold began brushing the horizon, and a cool stillness hovered in the air. For the first time in days, she let herself breathe without feeling like someone was waiting to take something from her. But today wasn't about comfort. Today terrified her more than anything else, meeting her mother after almost 2 years of silence. She slid her feet to the floor and touched the carpeted surface. That small softness under her toes was enough to remind her of the life she used to imagine, before everything had fallen apart. She moved to the kitchenette and quietly boiled water for tea. Her hands trembled, but not from the cold. Every thought circled back to the same question. What if she doesn't want to see me? What if she looks at me like I'm the reason everything fell apart? What if she's changed, or worse, not changed at all? The knocking at the door startled her. She froze, her breath hitching, until she recognized the voice on the other side. "It's just me," Mr. Grant said calmly. She opened the door and saw him standing there dressed in his usual charcoal coat, scarf neat, hair perfectly in place. But his eyes were softer than usual this morning. "You ready?" he asked. Jade wanted to say yes, to show strength, to prove she wasn't a scared child anymore. But the words stuck somewhere deep in her chest. Instead, she shrugged slightly. "I don't know," she whispered. "That's all right," he answered. "You don't have to be ready. Just willing." She didn't know why that line settled her nerves, but somehow it did. She grabbed her small bag, the only bag she had, and followed him out of the apartment. The car ride was quiet. The city was waking up around them, street vendors lifting metal shutters, taxis weaving through half-empty streets, lights flickering on in apartments above. Jade watched it all pass through the window, but her mind was far away, drifting back to the last memory she had of her mother. That night. That argument. Those words she wished she could erase. Her mother had been different back then, tired, bitter, overwhelmed. Jade had been too young to understand the depth of the pain that woman carried. Jade, Mr. Grant said gently, pulling her out of her thoughts. Do you want to talk about what you're afraid of? She hesitated before answering. What if she blames me? Jade murmured. What if she thinks everything that happened was my fault? Do you think it was? He asked. She shook her head hard, almost too fast. No, I don't. But she wasn't stable back then. And you aren't going to meet the version of her from back then, he replied. How do you know? Because no one stays the same after losing someone they love, he said softly. Not your mother. Not you. Something about his confidence felt like a small shield forming around her heart. They arrived at a quiet residential area far from the crowded neighborhoods Jade was used to. The houses were modest but cared for. Fresh paint, trimmed lawns, porch lights still glowing. Mr. Grant parked beside a small white house with blue shutters. Jade's hands immediately grew cold. That's it, he said quietly. She stared at the house. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful for someone who once carried storms inside her. Take your time, he whispered. Jade stepped out of the car slowly, each breath feeling heavier than the last. She walked toward the porch, her legs shaking with every step. When she reached the door, she hesitated. Her knuckles hovered over the wood but didn't move. What if she doesn't open? Jade whispered to herself. She didn't have to wonder long. The door opened from the inside. A woman stood there. Thinner than Jade remembered. Tired in the eyes but softer somehow. Her hair was pulled back neatly, and her hands trembled the same way Jade's did. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then her mother whispered, almost breathless. Jade. The sound of her name broke something inside her. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Her mother pressed a hand to her mouth, shaking. Is it really you? Jade nodded, unable to speak. Her mother reached out, slowly, carefully, as if afraid Jade would vanish. But before she could touch her, Jade stepped back. The older woman froze. Jade swallowed hard. I don't know what you want from me. Her mother's eyes widened with pain. I just want to see you. To say I'm sorry. Sorry? Jade whispered, voice cracking. For which part? Her mother closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. For all of it. Silence fell again, thick, heavy, emotional. Behind her, Mr. Grant stood at a distance, not interfering, not speaking. Only present, steady, ready to catch her if she fell. Her mother stepped back, giving Jade space. You don't have to come in. You don't have to forgive me. I just want you to know I'm not the same woman who hurt you. And I never stopped thinking about you. Jade's breath shook. Her heart felt like it was splitting in two directions. One toward the memory of pain, one toward the possibility of healing. She stared at the doorway. At her mother's trembling hands. At the house she had never seen before. Her mother whispered again, voice cracking. You can leave if you want. I won't stop you. I won't ask for anything. But if you stay, I'll listen to anything you need to say. Even if it hurts. Jade took a tiny step forward. Then another. Her mother's eyes filled with hope. But Jade wasn't stepping into the house. She was stepping closer to the truth. Her voice trembled as she finally spoke. I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you. Her mother nodded sadly. I understand. But, Jade whispered, I'm willing to hear you. A quiet gasp escaped her mother's lips. And Jade, still trembling, took one more step. Just as something inside the house made a sudden noise. Her mother flinched. Jade froze. Mr. Grant instantly straightened, alert. What was that? Jade whispered. Her mother swallowed, nervousness flickering in her eyes. There's something I need to tell you before you come in. Jade's pulse quickened. What is it? She asked. Her mother opened her mouth, hesitated, and then said, You're not the only one I hurt. She stepped aside, revealing someone standing deeper inside the home. Someone Jade never expected to see. Someone whose presence could change everything. And Jade felt her whole world tilt again. Jade stood frozen on the porch, her breath caught somewhere between fear and disbelief. The hallway behind her mother felt darker than the rest of the house, as if holding a truth no one wanted to drag into the light. She blinked slowly, unsure if her eyes were tricking her, but no. The figure in the shadow stepped forward. A teenage boy. Thin. Hesitant. Eyes wide with something between guilt and hope. He looked about 15, maybe 16, wearing a worn hoodie and jeans a size too big. His posture was wary, like he wasn't sure whether to approach or disappear. Her mother's voice trembled. "This is Malik." Jade's heart dropped. She didn't move. She didn't blink. She didn't even breathe. Her mother swallowed hard. "He's your brother." The word brother hit her like a wave. Jade felt the world tilt under her feet, her fingers curling in bewilderment. Brother? Her mind raced, replaying every memory of childhood, every night she cried alone, every moment she wondered why her mother had chosen someone else over her, but nowhere had there ever been a brother. Her voice came out cracked. "I don't have a brother." But the boy, Malik, winced like he had been waiting for that reaction. "You do," her mother whispered, hands shaking. I wasn't the mother either of you needed back then. I didn't tell you because everything was falling apart at once, and I didn't want you to carry the weight I put on myself." Jade stepped back slightly, fighting the sting behind her eyes. "So you raised him," she said quietly. "But not me." Her mother's face crumpled. "It wasn't like that. Jade, I wasn't well. After you left, I got help. Real help." "You got better after I was gone?" Jade choked out. Malik shifted, guilt heavy in his eyes. He looked like someone who had practiced being invisible most of his life. "I didn't replace you," her mother whispered. "I couldn't even take care of myself back then, let alone him. Someone else stepped in, someone from the community program. I only got him back a year ago." Jade stared at the boy again. He wasn't looking at her like a stranger, more like someone who had grown up hearing her name whispered through regret. "I'm sorry you had to find out like this," her mother said. I wanted to tell you in person. I wanted to tell you when you were strong enough." Jade's chest tightened. "And who decided when that was?" "You." For a moment no one spoke. The tension pressed down like a storm cloud, thick and suffocating. Then Malik finally stepped forward, voice soft and unsure. I've heard a lot about you." Jade didn't know how to respond. She felt anger, confusion, and a strange, unfamiliar ache that made it hard to speak. Mr. Grant, who had stayed respectfully behind her, finally stepped closer, not interfering but grounding her with his quiet presence. "You don't have to go inside," he murmured gently. But Jade wasn't sure what she wanted. Her mother stood in the doorway, eyes wet, breathing unevenly. Malik shifted nervously, clearly wanting to say more but unsure if he had the right. "I didn't want to hide him from you anymore," her mother said softly. "You deserve the truth. Both of you do." Jade stared at Malik. "Do you remember her?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not really. I was a baby when you were taken to stay with relatives. I only know what Mom told me later." The word Mom stung Jade unexpectedly. It wasn't Malik's fault, but it didn't stop the pain. Malik swallowed. "She told me she messed up. A lot. She told me you were the one she hurt the most." Jade's throat tightened. She didn't expect honesty from him. She didn't expect gentleness either. Her mother wiped her cheeks. "I can't erase anything. I can't pretend I didn't fail you. But I'm here now trying. I don't want to lose the chance to know you, or for you two to know each other." Jade's pulse echoed loudly in her ears. Part of her wanted to run. Part of her wanted to scream. Part of her wanted to ask 1,000 questions. But another part, the small, wounded part, wondered what life would have been like if she'd known she'd never been alone in the world. Malik spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. "If you don't want anything to do with me, I get it. But I'm glad you're here. I've always wanted an older sister." Jade's chest constricted. Older sister. A title she never knew she had. Her mother stepped aside gently, leaving the doorway open. "You don't have to stay long," she said softly. "Just a few minutes. Just enough to see that we're not the same broken pieces you left behind." Jade turned slowly to Mr. Grant. His expression was calm, steady, reassuring. "No pressure," he said quietly. "I'll be right here if you want to step out." Jade took a shaky breath. Then she looked at Malik, nervous, hopeful, unsure. Looked at her mother, remorseful, fragile, trying. Looked at the doorway, an old wound wrapped around a new possibility. And even though her body trembled, even though fear twisted in her stomach, she stepped toward the doorway. One careful step, then another. She crossed the threshold. The air inside felt different, warmer, quieter, like a place frozen in time. But just as Jade entered, something unexpected caught her eye on the kitchen table. A stack of letters. Letters addressed to her. Her name written over and over, different dates, different ink colors, different years. She stared in disbelief. Her mother's breath hitched. I wrote every month. They were never sent, because I didn't know where you were anymore. Jade's heart slammed against her ribs. Dozens of letters. Unread. Unopened. Unsent. Each one a piece of a story she never knew existed. Her vision blurred. Malik whispered, I told her you'd find her one day. I just didn't know when. Jade reached out with trembling fingers, touched the top letter, and felt the room spin. Her mother stepped closer, voice breaking. Please, read at least one. But before Jade could open it, before she could even sit down, a loud knock pounded suddenly on the front door. Her mother froze. Malik stiffened. Jade turned slowly, pulse spiking. Mr. Grant straightened instantly. Another knock, harder this time. Her mother whispered, panicked. No, not today. Not now. Jade stared at her. Who is that? Her mother swallowed, fear flickering in her eyes. Someone I hoped you'd never meet. The pounding on the door continued, 3 heavy, deliberate knocks that rattled the frame and froze everyone in place. Jade's breath caught in her throat. Mr. Grant moved instinctively, stepping in front of her with a protective firmness she hadn't expected but desperately needed. Her mother's face went pale. Malik moved closer to Jade without thinking, fear written across every line of his young face. The knocks came again, slow, forceful, confident. Whoever stood on the other side knew they would be answered. Jade whispered, Mom, who is that? Her mother hesitated, her voice trembling as she forced the words out. Your father. The room seemed to stop breathing. Jade felt the world tilt like someone had pulled the floor right out from under her. She stared at her mother, unsure if she had heard correctly. My father? Her mother nodded slowly, guilt twisting her expression. Please don't panic. I should have told you sooner. I just didn't know how. Mr. Grant barely hid his shock. He looked at the door, then back at Jade, silently asking if she wanted him to answer it. But Jade couldn't speak. Her father, someone she had only ever pictured as a shadow, was standing on the other side of that door. Another knock. This time calmer but firm enough to jolt the silence. Elaine, a deep voice called through the wood. Open the door. We need to talk. The air in the room turned thick. Her mother, Elaine, pressed a hand to her chest, steadying her breath. Just let me open it, please. She walked toward the door slowly, each step heavy with dread and something else, shame maybe. Jade's pulse thundered in her ears. Her mother unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door open just enough for a tall man to fill the doorway. He stepped inside before being invited. He wore a dark coat, the kind expensive enough to look effortless. His presence was commanding, broad shoulders, stern eyes, a jaw tense with irritation and exhaustion. But beneath that, something flickered, regret? Uncertainty? Jade couldn't tell. He scanned the room until his eyes landed on her. Jade's breath caught. He froze. Then, with a voice that seemed to collapse in on itself, he whispered, Jade. She didn't answer. He stared at her like she were a ghost from a life he'd never finished living. Emotion cracked through his expression, softening the stern lines into something fragile. Elaine quickly stepped forward. Howard, please. But he lifted a hand lightly, silencing her. Not angrily, just overwhelmed. He took a small step toward Jade. You're even more grown than I imagined, he said almost to himself. Mr. Grant subtly shifted closer, not aggressive, just supportive, ready to intervene if Jade needed space. Jade's voice came out barely audible. You knew about me? Howard looked like someone had punched the air from his lungs. Knew? He echoed. I've lived with the reality of losing you every day. Her stomach twisted. Her fists tightened. Then why weren't you there? It came out sharper than she expected. Elaine closed her eyes, bracing for conflict. Howard swallowed hard. Because your mother left while I was fighting a custody battle I didn't even know had started. By the time I found the address, you were gone. New guardians, new location, sealed records. His voice broke slightly. I searched for years. I hired investigators. I filed motions. But every trail went cold. Jade stared at him. He seemed sincere. Too sincere. Her mother's guilt-filled eyes confirmed it. Malik shifted beside her. He's telling the truth. She told me. Her mother nodded slowly, shame pulling at her features. I was scared, she said softly. I wasn't stable. I thought, you'd be better off without the chaos I was drowning in. Jade clenched her jaw. And you made that decision for him. And for me. Elaine winced as if the words were a blade. Howard turned toward her mother then, voice low but controlled. You should have called me. One phone call, just one, could have kept us from losing all those years. I know, Elaine whispered, eyes wet. I know, Howard. Jade felt her heart squeeze painfully. She didn't want to sympathize with either of them, yet something about Howard's expression made it harder to hold on to the anger she had sharpened for so long. But before she could speak, Howard's gaze slid toward Malik. And who is he? Elaine froze. Malik tensed. Jade's stomach dropped. Please, she thought. Not now. Elaine swallowed. He's Jade's brother. Howard blinked in surprise. I didn't know, he whispered. You never said. You weren't supposed to find out this way, Elaine said desperately. Not like this. Howard's jaw tightened, not in anger but in disbelief, in processing everything at once. Jade stepped forward. We're not talking about that right now. Her voice was steady, firmer than she felt. Howard looked at her, relief softening his tense posture. You're right. I came here for one reason. He reached into his coat and pulled out a worn photo, creased, weathered, handled 1,000 times. Jade's heart stopped. It was a picture of her. A school portrait from when she was 8. He held it like something precious. This is the only photograph I ever had left of you, he said quietly. It's been in my wallet every day for 14 years. Jade's throat tightened. He took a careful step forward, eyes glistening. I didn't come to disrupt anything, he said softly. I only came because the private investigator finally found a lead. I thought you might slam the door in my face. I would have understood. The room remained still. He breathed shakily. But I had to see you. Even if it was just once. Jade's pulse throbbed in her ears. The pain, the confusion, the longing she had buried for so long rose like a tide she couldn't fight. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know what she should say. And then, a sudden crash echoed from the back of the house. Everyone flinched. Malik grabbed Jade's arm. Elaine gasped. Howard spun toward the hallway. Mr. Grant moved instantly, protective instincts switching on. Jade's breath quickened. What was that? She whispered. Her mother's face drained of color. That sound, Elaine whispered, voice trembling. It came from the laundry room. Howard stepped forward cautiously. Is someone else here? Elaine shook her head. There shouldn't be. The house fell silent. Even the walls seemed to listen. Then another noise, soft, dragging like footsteps against the tile. Howard's eyes narrowed. Mr. Grant's jaw clenched. Malik pressed closer to Jade. Jade's heartbeat hammered. Something, or someone, was inside the house. Elaine whispered, barely audible. That door was locked an hour ago. Howard exhaled slowly. Everyone stay behind me. But Jade already knew. Whoever was back there was not supposed to be there. And whatever waited in that hallway was about to change everything. The hallway felt colder than the rest of the house, as if the temperature had dropped the moment the crash echoed. Jade could hear her heartbeat pounding in her ears, each thud louder than the last. Howard lifted a hand, silently instructing everyone to stay back. His posture shifted, alert, focused, protective. Mr. Grant moved beside him, mirroring the stance like someone who had spent years knowing how to handle danger calmly. Elaine's breath trembled. The laundry room is at the very end, she whispered. No windows. Only one way in or out. Which meant one thing. Whoever was in there hadn't entered by accident. Howard took a cautious step forward. Stay behind me. Do not move until I say so. Jade swallowed hard. Malik gripped her sleeve, knuckles pale. She didn't pull away. For the first time since meeting him, she felt an instinctive need to shield him, to keep him safe, even while her own fear knotted tighter in her chest. A soft metallic scrape echoed again. Not loud. Not clumsy. Deliberate. Mr. Grant leaned slightly toward Howard. Do you think? I don't know yet, Howard murmured. But whoever it is, they're not here by chance. Elaine clasped her hands together, her eyes darting between Jade and the hallway. She seemed to be praying under her breath, though her lips didn't form any audible words. Howard took another step. Then another. The house, so full of tension minutes ago, now felt utterly silent. Jade could almost feel the walls listening with them, holding in a breath. When Howard reached the corner that led to the laundry area, he paused, pressing his back to the wall. Then, without warning, a figure darted across the hallway. Jade gasped. Malik flinched. Elaine covered her mouth. Howard lunged forward, but the figure slipped out of sight again, fast and desperate. Mr. Grant whispered urgently, "Whoever that is trying to get out." But Elaine shook her head. "There's no way out. Unless..." She froze. Unless they had been hiding already. Howard slowly approached the laundry room doorway. The air near it felt thick, stale, unsettling. Jade could feel the weight of something unspoken pulling at her. He raised his hand and pushed the door open. The hinges creaked. The room inside was dim, lit only by a faint bulb. Laundry baskets, folded towels, and boxes lined the shelves. A dryer hummed quietly in the corner, its vibration the only sound breaking the suffocating quiet. Howard stepped inside, then immediately stopped. "Come out," he said firmly. "Right now." Silence. Mr. Grant entered behind him. Jade couldn't see everything from where she stood, but she leaned slightly, trying to catch a glimpse. A shadow shifted behind the stacked cleaning supplies. Howard moved closer. "I'm not going to ask again." Slowly, hesitantly, a figure emerged. A woman, barely standing, disheveled, face bruised, clothes torn at the sleeves, breathing uneven, shallow, as though she had been hiding there for hours. Jade's breath caught in her throat. Her stomach flipped. Elaine inhaled sharply. "No, no, it can't be." The woman lifted her chin weakly. Jade took a step forward in disbelief. "Mom?" Malik whispered, trembling. Because yes, it was her. Danielle. Jade had only seen photos of her. Old pictures. Smiling ones. She didn't look like this, exhausted, injured, terrified. Howard froze completely. "Danielle?" His voice cracked in stunned disbelief. She tried to stand straighter but stumbled. Howard rushed forward instinctively and caught her before she hit the floor. She clung to his arm, shaking violently. Jade felt her entire body go cold. Danielle swallowed hard, forcing her eyes open. When she saw Jade, a broken, relieved smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. You're really here," she whispered. Elaine covered her mouth, tears spilling. Malik pressed himself against Jade in shock. Jade felt like she couldn't breathe. "What happened to you?" Danielle tried to speak, but her voice cracked. She looked at Howard with a raw, vulnerable fear. "They found me." Mr. Grant stepped closer. "Who found you?" Danielle looked down, shaking her head like she didn't even want to form the words. "The people you warned me about," she whispered to Howard. "They're getting bold. They're not hiding anymore." Howard's jaw clenched, fury flashing across his face. "I told you to stay somewhere safe. I told you they'd come after you first. I tried," Danielle sobbed. "I really tried. But they were already there when I got home. I barely escaped." Elaine moved forward, tears in her voice. "Sit her down. Let her breathe." Howard helped Danielle onto a chair. Jade hovered near the threshold, not sure if stepping closer was safe, emotionally or physically. Danielle looked at her again, eyes softening through the pain. "You look just like her," she whispered. "Like the sister I never knew you'd meet." Jade swallowed hard. Why were you running? Why hide here? Danielle wiped her eyes. Because I couldn't think of anywhere else they wouldn't expect. I remembered the stories Elaine told me. I remembered this house. Elaine blinked in surprise. You remembered that? Danielle nodded weakly. Mr. Grant crouched beside her, voice steady. Do you know if anyone followed you? Danielle hesitated. That silence told them everything. Howard straightened sharply. How close were they? Danielle winced. I heard them outside earlier. I didn't see faces, just footsteps. Then a car door. Then nothing. Jade's heart squeezed with dread. Howard turned to Mr. Grant, voice low but urgent. Stay alert. If anyone's near the property, we need to know. Mr. Grant nodded and moved toward the front windows, scanning outside. Danielle reached out suddenly, her fingers closing around Jade's wrist with surprising strength. Please listen, she whispered desperately. You are all in danger because of me. Jade froze. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to stay strong. What? What do they want? Danielle's eyes filled with pure fear. They want proof, she said weakly. Proof that Howard never destroyed those documents. Proof that could expose everything the executives are doing behind his back. They're willing to do anything to get it. Howard's fists clenched. They think I hid evidence in the only place they haven't searched, he growled. Elaine frowned. Where? Howard's gaze slowly turned toward Jade. Jade felt her stomach drop. No, she whispered. I don't have anything. You don't know you do, Howard said quietly. Not yet. Before Jade could ask what that meant, a car engine roared outside. Everyone turned. Headlights swept across the front windows, slow, scanning, like someone was circling the house. Mr. Grant stiffened. They're not driving past, he said, voice tensing. They're stopping. Danielle covered her mouth in terror. Malik stepped closer to Jade, trembling. Howard moved toward the living room, shoulders rigid. Elaine whispered, Whoever they are, they found her. Jade swallowed hard, her pulse racing. The car idled outside, headlights glowing through the curtains. Then, the engine cut. Silence. Jade's whole body tensed. Someone was outside the house. Someone who wasn't leaving. Howard glanced toward the hallway, toward Danielle, toward Jade. It's time, he said quietly. We need to prepare. This isn't over. He looked at Jade with a haunted intensity. And before the night ends, you're going to learn why they've been searching for you too. A chill ran down her spine. She didn't know what frightened her more, the danger outside the door, or the truth waiting inside the house. Autumn had settled over the city, casting long golden shadows across the billionaire's estate. Inside the warm living room, Maya and her little sister Amina sat stiffly on the couch. Both clutched mugs of hot chocolate, though neither had taken a sip. Their nerves were too tight, their minds too loud. Across from them sat Mr. Harrington, no longer the mysterious wealthy man who had helped them on the street, but the man who had slowly become their protector, their shelter, their hope. And today, the man who held the truth they feared most. He rested his elbows on his knees and looked at the girls with gentle seriousness. Girls, he began softly, I need to tell you something important. Something about your mother. Instantly, Maya's hands trembled. Amina leaned into her big sister, eyes wide, hope and fear fighting inside her. Is she alive? Amina whispered. A long silence. Mr. Harrington exhaled slowly. I received the police report this morning, he said. And yes, your mother is alive. Amina gasped, a small broken gasp of relief. But Maya? Her eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with understanding. Where is she? Maya asked. Her voice was tired, older than her years. Mr. Harrington hesitated. She's recovering in a hospital. They found her in an abandoned building, very weak. She'd been hiding. Afraid. Not dead, just unable to get to you. Amina burst into tears, relief overwhelming her, but Maya stayed still, frozen. He continued gently. She wasn't killed. She wasn't kidnapped. She wasn't running from you. He paused. She was running from someone else. Maya's breath hitched. Dad? She whispered. Amina blinked in confusion. Maya, what do you mean? Daddy is in the sky with the angels. Maya closed her eyes, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. No, Mina. He's not. Mr. Harrington reached out, placing a hand on Maya's shoulder, steadying her. You were old enough, he said quietly. You saw more than she did. You've been protecting her from the truth. Amina's confusion deepened. Protecting me from what? Maya finally spoke, voice breaking. From the fact that Dad is the one who hurt Mom. He almost killed her. She ran because she was scared. She hid because she didn't want him to find us. Amina sat back, stunned, her little hands shaking. She didn't abandon us, Maya whispered. She was trying to save us. Amina's lip quivered. So, Daddy is the bad guy. Maya hugged her tightly. No. He was sick. Angry. But he hurt Mom, and she had to run. Mr. Harrington cleared his throat softly. The police have him in custody now. He can't hurt any of you again. The room fell quiet except for Amina's soft sobs. But it wasn't a hopeless cry. It was the cry of a child who finally understood her past, and could begin to heal. After a long moment, Mr. Harrington stood. Girls, I want you to know something. They looked up. You are safe here. You will always be safe here. And your mother, once she is strong enough, she will see you again. Amina's face lit with a fragile smile. Maya whispered, Thank you, for everything. Mr. Harrington smiled gently. You don't need to thank me. Family takes care of family. And for the first time in a long time, the girls believed it. 3 days later, the air in the Harrington mansion felt different. Warmer, brighter, almost buzzing with anticipation. Maya paced the hallway nonstop, wringing her hands. Amina sat on the stairs hugging her stuffed rabbit, eyes glued to the front door. She'll be here soon, Mr. Harrington assured them with a soft smile as he walked by. The doctors cleared her this morning. Amina bounced slightly. Mommy's really coming today? Yes, he said warmly. Today. But Maya, she wasn't excited. She was terrified. What if Mom didn't want them anymore? What if she blamed Maya for everything? What if the reunion made Amina happy but tore Maya apart? Her chest tightened at the thought. Outside, tires crunched on gravel. Amina leapt up. That's her. That's her. Maya froze. Mr. Harrington opened the front door and the sunlight spilled in, along with a woman who looked fragile, exhausted, yet unmistakably full of love. Their mother. Her eyes were sunken, her hair messy, but her smile trembled with emotion when she saw her daughters. Amina shrieked and ran. Mommy. Their mother dropped to her knees, arms wide, catching Amina in a hug so tight she sobbed into her daughter's hair. Oh baby, oh my sweet baby, she cried, rocking her gently. Maya stood still, unable to move. The fear locked her feet to the ground. Their mother lifted her head and saw her. Maya, she whispered, and something inside Maya cracked. Emma, she choked. Their mother reached a trembling hand toward her. Come here, sweetheart. Maya's legs finally obeyed and she stumbled forward. When she fell into her mother's arms, she broke down completely. I thought you were dead, Maya sobbed. I thought we'd lost you. I thought. No, no, her mother whispered, cupping her face. I never wanted to leave you. I thought I was keeping you safe. I thought, her voice cracked. I thought if he didn't find us together, he wouldn't hurt you. Maya cried harder. Amina hugged them both, tiny arms squeezing as if afraid they'd disappear. Mr. Harrington quietly stepped back, giving them the space they needed. After a long moment, their mother pulled back, wiping the girls' tears with trembling fingers. I'm here now, she said. I'm not running again. I'm not hiding again. But, where will we live? Amina asked softly. Their mom looked around the beautiful home, suddenly shy. I don't want to be a burden. Before Maya or Amina could speak, Mr. Harrington stepped forward. You're not a burden, he said gently. You're family. You and the girls can stay here as long as you need. No conditions. No pressure. Just a safe place to heal. Their mother's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to, he said. Your daughters have brought more life into this house than I've felt in years. Maya looked at him then, really looked at him, and realized something strange. He wasn't just helping out of pity. He genuinely cared about them. Later that evening after dinner, their mother pulled Maya aside. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. Maya tensed. "What is it?" Her mom squeezed her hand. "I know what you did, protecting your sister from the truth for all these years. You carried a weight no child should ever carry." Maya swallowed hard. "You're strong," her mother whispered. "Stronger than me. And I'm so proud of you." For the first time in a long time, Maya felt a piece of the heaviness in her chest lift. Tonight, for the first time, they would sleep under the same roof, safe, warm, and together. It wasn't the end of their story, but it was the beginning of healing. The morning of the custody hearing arrived like a storm Maya had been dreading for weeks. Even though she tried to stay brave for Amina, her hands trembled the entire car ride to the courthouse. Their mother sat beside them in the back seat of the SUV, wringing a tissue until it nearly tore. Mr. Harrington drove quietly, stealing worried glances at them through the rearview mirror. "Everything will be all right," he said softly. But Maya wasn't so sure. The courthouse in downtown Seattle felt cold and intimidating, with tall ceilings and echoing hallways filled with murmured conversations. Amina clutched Maya's hand tightly, her small fingers trembling. Their mother took a deep breath as they entered, shoulders tense, eyes red from sleepless nights. A lawyer, Mr. Graham, hired by Mr. Harrington, met them at the entrance. He was warm, confident, and professional, exactly the kind of person who made people feel protected. "We're going to present your case clearly," he assured their mother. "You've shown the court you're seeking help, taking responsibility, and putting your daughter's safety first. That matters." But Maya still felt the gnawing worry in her stomach. What if the judge didn't see it that way? What if they were separated again? When they entered the courtroom, Maya spotted him immediately, the man who had haunted their lives for years, their mother's ex. He stood stiffly beside his attorney, wearing a forced expression of calm. His eyes slid over Maya and Amina with a coldness that sent a chill up Maya's spine. Amina hid behind Maya, whispering, "I don't like him." Maya squeezed her hand. "You're safe. He can't hurt us here." Mr. Harrington placed a reassuring hand on their mother's shoulder. "Stay strong. Focus on the girls." Finally, the judge entered and everyone stood. The hearing began. The ex's lawyer spoke first, presenting him as a responsible father who simply wanted to reconnect with his children. He claimed their mother had unfairly taken them away. Maya clenched her jaw so hard it hurt. Their mother's turn came next. She stood trembling, voice cracking as she explained the years of emotional manipulation, the threats, the unsafe environment she had escaped from. She didn't embellish, she didn't dramatize. She told the truth. Tears shimmered in the judge's eyes, but the decision wasn't immediate. Then came the moment Maya wasn't expecting. "Your Honor," Mr. Harrington's lawyer said, standing, "we'd like to call a witness." Maya. Her heart plummeted. "Emmy?" she stuttered, gripping Amina's hand tighter. "Yes," the lawyer said gently. "Only if you're comfortable. You can speak from your seat if you prefer." Maya hesitated, stomach twisting. But she knew the truth mattered, and she had carried that truth alone for too long. Slowly she rose. The judge nodded kindly. "Go ahead, dear." Maya's voice shook at first. "My mom, she didn't run because she wanted to. She ran because she had to." She paused, feeling eyes on her from every direction. "He yelled a lot. He scared us. He scared my mom. And I was always trying to protect my little sister. We didn't feel safe. Not ever." Her ex-stepfather shifted uncomfortably, jaw tightening. Maya took a trembling breath, but then her voice grew steadier, stronger. "My mom did everything she could to keep us safe. Everything. And we're finally okay now. We have a home. We're going to school. We're not scared anymore, because she made sure we could finally breathe." The courtroom fell silent. Even Amina looked up at her with wide, proud eyes. The judge glanced from Maya to their mother, then to the ex. Something unreadable passed through her expression. After a long pause, she announced she would return with a decision after reviewing the final statements. When they stepped into the hallway, their mother pulled Maya into a trembling embrace. "You were so brave," she whispered, voice breaking. "I'm so proud of you." Amina joined the hug, squeezing both of them. Mr. Harrington stood a short distance away, watching quietly, admiration written across his face. But before they could even catch their breath, Maya's phone buzzed. A known number. She frowned and answered. A distorted, angry voice hissed through the speaker. "You think this is over?" Maya froze. Her mother's ex. He must have slipped the number earlier, maybe in court. Her heart pounded as she slowly lowered the phone, her face pale. "What happened?" their mother asked, panic rising. Maya swallowed hard. He called me." The hallway suddenly felt colder. Whatever the judge decided, this fight wasn't over yet. The judge's decision came 2 days later, delivered in a quiet courtroom where every breath felt heavy. Maya, Amina, their mother, and Mr. Harrington sat together in the front row. The tension was thick enough to choke on. When the judge entered, everyone stood. Maya squeezed Amina's hand, bracing herself. The ruling began with formalities, but Maya barely heard any of it. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears until the judge finally spoke the words that mattered. "Full custody is hereby granted to the mother. All visitation rights for the former partner are revoked indefinitely due to evidence of emotional harm, threats, and unsafe behavior toward the minors." A gasp left their mother's lips. Amina burst into tears. Maya felt her knees weaken with relief. It was over. At least legally. Their mother hugged both girls tightly, murmuring, "We're safe now, we're really safe." But Maya couldn't forget the phone call. The threat whispered in her ear. After court, Mr. Harrington requested police involvement. They assured him they would file a report and increase monitoring, especially since the ex had a history of erratic behavior. It helped, but Maya still felt the weight of fear lingering like a shadow. That night, the Harrington mansion felt warm and alive. Their mother cooked dinner with them, laughing softly for the first time in years. Amina ran around the kitchen, helping set the table with a clumsy eagerness that made everyone smile. But Maya stepped outside for a moment of air. The night was calm. Crickets chirped in the garden. Lights from the city glittered in the distance. She took a deep breath, trying to release everything she'd carried. Footsteps approached behind her. "You're doing better," Mr. Harrington said gently as he joined her on the patio. Maya nodded. "Trying to." He rested his hands on the railing. "I know today was hard. But you were brave. And your mother, she has so much love for you too. You all deserve this chance." Maya hesitated, then asked the question that had been stuck in her chest for weeks. "Why did you help us so much? You didn't owe us anything." Mr. Harrington looked at her thoughtfully. "Because sometimes life gives you a chance to do the right thing." He paused. "And because I saw something in you and Amina. Strength, kindness, courage. I haven't felt this house be a home since my wife passed. You girls brought life into it again." His voice softened. "And I care about your family. Deeply." Maya couldn't form words. She just nodded, feeling something warm unravel inside her. Before they could continue, the backyard security light blinked on, triggered by movement. Maya stiffened. Mr. Harrington immediately stepped in front of her, alert. A figure moved near the gate. Tall. Familiar. Maya's breath caught. Her mother's ex. Mr. Harrington's voice hardened. "Stay behind me. Call the police now." Maya fumbled for her phone, but her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped it. The man stepped into the light, eyes sharp with rage. "You think you can hide them from me?" he snarled. "Leave now," Mr. Harrington warned, stepping forward. "You're trespassing." "I want what's mine," the man shouted. Maya's heart thrashed wildly. She saw her mother rushing through the patio door, eyes wide with terror. Before the man could come closer, security guards swarmed in from the side, tackling him to the ground. One had already called the police. Another restrained him until officers arrived minutes later. Maya clung to her mother as officers handcuffed him. This time Maya didn't cry. She didn't shake. She felt lighter. Because this wasn't fear anymore. It was closure. As the police car pulled away, Amina appeared at the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Is it over? Their mother kneeled and held her close. Yes, baby. It's over. That night, after things calmed down, the four of them sat in the living room, exhausted, relieved, and safe. For the first time, Maya saw their mother truly relax, leaning back into the couch with a soft smile. Amina curled up beside her, asleep in minutes. Mr. Harrington glanced at Maya. You okay? She nodded slowly. For the first time, she whispered, I think I really am. He smiled. Good. Maya took a deep breath and looked around the room, the warmth, the safety, the sense of belonging. Their mother looked at Mr. Harrington and said softly, I don't know how we can ever repay you. You don't need to, he replied. Just live. You'll grow. Their mother smiled shyly, and Maya suddenly understood something. This wasn't just a temporary situation. This was a new chapter. A real beginning. No running. No hiding. No fear. Just hope. Maya rested her head back against the sofa, letting the moment wash over her. Tomorrow would bring school, routine, maybe even laughter. And for once, she wasn't scared of the future. She was ready for it,